Okay.
I need George.
Volume's here.
We just do that to wake everyone up. Updates on the computers last night and everything's all messed up.
That was messed up before they got.
There it is.
Okay, then, we're gonna call the meeting to order. May 7th, this is a virtual and in person, and we have a few in the crowd here today. So I'm just gonna start off, there is a couple of changes here. One delegation with Aqua is unable to make it today. And our student appointee has an appointment at 11 o'clock, or 11:30 at the school. So if she doesn't make it to the time where she's going to do her update, we'll let her speak by 11:15 before we take our break. So going to start off with the land acknowledgement. We respectfully acknowledge that the Township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen is located on the Treaty 20 Mississauga territory of the Mississauga and Chippewa Nations, collectively known as the Williams Treaties First Nations, which includes Curve Lake, Hiawatha, Alderville, Scugog Island, Rama, Beausoleil, and Georgina Island First Nations. The Township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen respectfully acknowledges that the Williams Treaties First Nations are the stewards and caretakers of the lands and waters in perpetuity, and that they continue to maintain this responsibility to ensure their health and integrity for generations to come. With that, I'll ask everyone to make sure your cell phones are off or on vibrate so they don't disturb the meeting. And I'll remind council of declaration of continuing interest. If it arises, you can declare it then, or if there's something you can declare now, go ahead. Seeing none, we have minutes here from the regular council meeting of April 16th. If all's in order, I'll look for a motion to receive them. Moved by Councilor Doherty, seconded by Councilor Clement. All in favor, and that's carried. So with that, we'll move into delegations. We have several delegations today. The first delegation here is Bill Lett from Unity Design with regard to some concept drawing or plan. So Bill, welcome.
Wow, that's nice. Fully adjustable. It's all good. Okay, perfect. Mayor Martin, Council, it's great to be back to talk to you. I'm here with my colleague, Matthew Phillip. Just a little bit of background. We last came to talk to you just before the end of the year and provide some updates on the various capital projects within the municipality. Since then, we have been working with staff, and our approach will be to come in and speak to you over the coming months about all of these projects, one at a time. The first project today is the Recreation Park project. Just a little bit about, if you're wondering what happened, about us as an organization. Lett Architects rebranded in the new year as Unity Design Studio. We are a values-led business, and we wanted a name that was going to reflect our values, as well as the fact that we've now opened offices in Collingwood and Kitchener as well. And we are currently working with 17 municipalities across the province, including yourselves. So it's really good to be here. The other thing I'll point out is Matthew is actually, this is an exciting week for us, and we're hoping that we're going to see you all this weekend. Matthew is the senior project lead for the Canadian Community Museum, which is going to be opening this weekend on Little Lake in Peterborough. And so we're pleased that project that we've been working on now for the last 4 years is coming to a close. So hopefully we'll see you there. But today we are here to talk about the recreation park. So if we can get the next slide, please. And the next slide. So just by way of some due diligence, we met with staff earlier this year to look at the site that's been selected for the recreation park, and our first reaction was that there was a significant amount of due diligence that needed to be done on the site regarding reports and planning, potentially rezoning. And so I know staff have been working with your planner of record, and maybe I would ask staff to provide a little bit of an update on what's happening there.
Through your name, Martin. Yes, so essentially we are working with our planning consultants in order to figure out the zoning related matters, because the property is poly-zoned. It's zoned for a specific purpose. It was the former site of the long-term care facility. That changed. And so the zoning related matters could be done quite quickly. It's just some of the studies are required prior to the zoning matters being addressed. So that is in the process currently at the moment, and we're working with our planning consultants to wrap it up.
Thank you. Next slide. So when we came at the end of last year, there was a potential program for this particular site, and since that meeting and reviewing the program with staff, here you can see what we've been looking at are ultimately 2 baseball diamonds, 2 tennis courts, 4 pickleball courts, a service building that would include washrooms, and a dog park. And so the analysis that we've done today, which is very conceptual at this point, includes that program, and I'll hand it over to Matthew to speak about it. Next slide.
Bill, pleasure to meet everybody. Go ahead. Thank you. So this is kind of an overview of the site. So for those online, north is up, so the old Norwood Road is on the north side, and then Consistent Street to is on the east. The important piece to note is this this kind of radius from your lagoons to the southwest. We need a 400-meter setback, so we were able to offset that, keep the concept of the park further south on the property. And in the white area, it's roughly around 5 acres of residential area that we were wanting to maintain as much as possible through this design. You go to the next slide. The next slide kind of dives into the design. So thoroughfare for vehicular traffic on the east side comes off Concession Street, goes into the parking lot. We're able to have accessible parking, and then hardscape zoning piece in the middle that kind of separates the 2 tennis courts on the north side, and then the 4 pickleball courts on the south side in blue, and then we have a dog park further south in the white box there. The interesting piece about the design is we wanted to have two buildings that utilize washrooms and building services. So for those that want to do tennis or have baseball on the north side, they can use the north side building, and then the same thing on the south side for pickleball and dog park baseball. There's this almost identical building right next to it. The important thing too to note from the topography of the street on the Concession Street, there is a slight hill, and working with planning, we're able to locate the entry point in a place where it's not or it is safe for vehicular traffic coming in and out. So almost the apex or the top of the hill is just south of the parking where it's located now. And next slide. We were able to do some 3D renderings just to indicate some conceptual of the building and the baseball. So this is, if you're standing on the north baseball diamond right behind the pitchers, even community involvement, baseball, and so on. So the next slide is an important one. Is a nice 3D perspective. Seeing the tennis courts, all the parking layout. The building, we were adjoining the buildings so they're offset to provide a continuous roof for both. This provides shelter, and then thoroughfare through the walkway, and then washrooms and change rooms and service rooms can be accessed on either side of the building. Next slide.
Back in. So this is the concept at this point. Oh, We have a question.
I'm sorry, just a little bit confused. If we go back to that other slide, so I'm looking at that, am I looking at that from, Old Norwood Road, or am I looking at that from the concession?
Apologies. Yes, you're looking at that if you're at concession 8,
That's
looking
concession 8.
southwest.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
So as far as next steps are concerned, this was just a very quick concept to show you what the potential was on the site. We now need to do some further concept design work. And in order to do that, and in order to get proper costing for all of this, we need to engage with other consultants. So over and above the consultants that need to be hired for the due diligence work that we were just talking about, we are engaging with a company called Engage Tatham, who we're currently working with on a similar project in the town of Collingwood, where we're doing pickleball courts, tennis courts, pavilion building, etc. And so we're just working through that engagement with the intent that we'll further develop the concept and put together some order of magnitude costing to bring back to council on June 7th.
All right, and yeah, it's really nice to see it, like a picture is worth 1,000 words, and that's, what I got out of it. The other part I got out of it is there's a lot there, and we really, so as far as I could see a phased-in approach for a lot of this stuff, and the biggest thing that I've heard over the last couple of years, the first priority is the ball diamonds and getting them up and running. So moving forward, we do need to keep things moving because those things need to happen. And some of the other things might be, on a planned process as far as scheduling things out as we can afford it or as, maybe grants come available. But it is nice to see a picture there to see what we're capable of doing or what we could put over there, and there is a bit of space. So I'll open up to council for any questions. Okay, Councillor Doherty.
Jordy. In the drawings, earlier you said there was some residential land left over. I didn't see it pointed out on there. Like, where is that in that scope?
Yeah, sure. If we can go back a few slides, one more. There we go. There's a lot more work that needs to be done here, but this is, at this point, what we understand is that they're from the 2 lagoons in the southwest corner that you can see in blue. From the northeast corner of those lagoons, you've got a radius of approximately 400 meters that you cannot have any residential occupancies within. So the white space that you see on that diagram that is remaining between concession 8 and that radius could potentially be used for future residential if council deem that appropriate for the site to be able to sell that land if possible. It was an analysis to see what might be available. More work has to be done on this to get exact numbers, but it appears there is a potential.
And what's the size of that? Is it 1 acre, 2 acres, 5 acres approximately?
Through Mayor Martin, it's 5 acres currently shown.
And there's access to, I guess that would be,
Concession 8.
so that's Mary Street, yeah. Okay, thank you. Okay.
Deputy Mayor Webb.
Yeah, through you, Mayor. Thank you very much for the presentation. As the mayor said, very beautiful. Like to have all of that here in the community. Don't know if we have the money to do all of it right now, so I think there's going to be some hard decisions for council here in the next month or so in terms of paring it down to what we do want to start with. The mayor referred to the ball diamonds and probably the pickleball courts as well. So my one question was around, I guess, the picture we have up there. So we have the 400-meter buffer around the draining pond for residential. I'm not a planner, but should we be putting 2 baseball fields there? And you know what I'm getting at? Because especially, maybe this is an issue when we get into the water plant, but if that's going to be filled with some kind of sediment, and I imagine the wind blows west to east quite frequently, that might not be the greatest place, I'm just thinking of that maybe before we get to that point. But as I said, we haven't made a decision on whether we're going to go with those ponds or not, but that's pretty close.
Yeah, so
Through you, Mayor Martin, I just wanted to make one comment about the 40-year buffer. Under the D series guidelines, which essentially is industrial uses next to the sensitive uses, the guideline is provided by the province. It is a buffer between 100 and 400. So like 400 is, I guess, the most restrictive. So it all depends on the studies that are done. So studies to be done, and they conclude that it's actually 100 feet. So there's definitely a bit of wiggle room. That's my understanding of the process.
And my biggest thing is not even from arguing kind of the distances or whatnot, as I said, just from the everyday fact of what's gonna happen there. If we fill that pond full of what it's gonna be filled with and the wind's blowing, that's where it's gonna be blowing, is right onto that park. So it's just something for council to consider. And I said, it's probably more of something we consider when we think about what we're doing down at the water plant, because I think we're pretty much agreed on we're gonna move forward with this project, so.
If I may, through, is it electrified? This is going to have lights, and conceptually,
So through you, Mayor Martin, it potentially is the answer. We will provide that option in the costing, so that you understand what the implications of having lights are for a facility like this. That'll be a cost that will get pulled in.
and you mentioned washrooms. The sewers, to my knowledge, don't go out Mary Street that far. So we're going to have hydro, sewer, water. We don't have.
And septic.
Potentially septic. Well,
So that'll be a part when you do your analysis, you'll give us options there and we'll be able to decide if that suits us or not and how we want to do it. That'll be the future. Right now, you gave us what we could do. Now I think, like the deputy mayor said, we'll have to decide on what we can do and what we can't do and how it's going to look, whether, like Councilor already said, whether it's got sewer or septic, or if it's got lights this year, they may be phased in over a couple of years. All of those things are, what council will have to decide in the future if we move forward. Okay. So, any other questions? So for today, it would be just a motion that we continue with the moving forward. We are kind of behind the gun.
So I'll make that motion with the questions for clarification. Are we still, is that a set date then to come back June 7th? Okay, perfect.
Perfect.
That motion.
Okay, moved by Deputy Mayor Webb. Councilor Flagler,
Is that going to be a special meeting then?
is that our next meeting? Or
No, that'll be our
Fourth.
first meeting in June.
First
That's our
meeting.
first meeting.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
I may have gotten the date wrong.
It's all right.
I believe it's the 4th. If that's
Well, no, I just update my calendar, that's all.
So it's moved by Deputy Mayor Webb, seconded by Councilor Flagler. Go ahead.
So through you, Mayor Martin, just to confirm the resolution that we proceed to next steps and proceed with the rezoning of the property.
Yeah, okay.
And cost estimates for, sorry, Drew, just for clarification, for Bill's clarification, I guess. The cost estimates, you're just gonna go ahead and break down, I guess, for every little bit there, and then we can.
Through you, Mayor Martin, I think at this point, we're going to give you an order of magnitude range. So a typical baseball field will be X to Y. A typical baseball field with lighting will be another number. Pickleball courts, tennis courts, the building itself will get broken out, and those can be ranges as well at this point. But I think it's important that you understand the order of magnitude cost of a project like this, so that you can make those facing decisions.
Thank you, Bill.
And that document will really help us on applying for grants and things like that in the future, and then we can prioritize what, how we're gonna phase it in, if we can phase, so kind of what that's gonna look like. Councilor Flagler?
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin. I personally think the whole thing is beautiful. I think it's gonna be great for our township. My one question is the dog park. I'm not sure where that came from, but what is the size of the dog park? Do you know?
Through you, Mayor Martin, it's just roughly an acre.
All right, thank you.
All right then, so we have a mover and a seconder. Any other
Sorry,
questions?
do we have a seconder? Moved
Yeah.
by Deputy.
Councilor Schleicher,
Thank you.
Yes.
Yep.
All in favor? And that's carried. So thank you very much.
We'll see you soon.
Thanks, Bill. Thanks, Matthew. We'll be in touch.
Okay.
No speeding.
No guarantees.
Okay, so the next delegation on our agenda here is Betsy Farrar.
Daisy?
Parties.
Okay, thank you, you said it. From Dillon Consulting with regards to the garbage upload analysis.
I can introduce her.
Okay, thank you.
She's on.
Carrie Snoddy. Okay, she's on.
See Betsy on there. Good morning. Thank you so much for having us today. I'm Carrie. I'm the manager of waste management for Peterborough County. With me, I have Brian Weir, who's the senior director of planning and public works, and online we have Betsy from Dillon Consulting. So we're here today to present to you the results so far of the garbage upload analysis that we have been looking at for the last year or so. This study is a result of a couple of different service delivery reviews that the county has done, as well as direction from county council to look at this. So the gist of the study is looking at the potential of moving garbage collection in the county from 8 separate contracts in each township to one county-led contract, with the understanding, respect that townships already offer a great service to their residents. This is just looking at if there's any potential cost savings or efficiencies from looking at this. So we presented this study to county council in February, and they gave us direction to come out to each township to do the presentation, get feedback from you. And so I'll pass it over to Betsy to start off.
And we are the last one that you've had
Yes,
to do.
we-
So you
this
think
is
the
the
best till
last.
last.
Yep, the best for last.
Okay,
Good
All right,
morning,
Betsy.
everyone.
good morning.
So today, yes, like Carrie mentioned, I'll give an update on the project. And most of the content is going to be related to our consolidated approach and the things that we looked at under there. So those sub bullets there. And then I'll pass it back to Carrie at the end to close off the presentation. So this project started in July of 2023, and the first parts of the project were to understand the existing waste management system and to the townships and the county as a whole. So part of that involved us looking at background reports and data. And then we also conducted a series of interviews in the summer of last year to talk to representatives from each of the townships to get input on the complexities of the waste system and what sort of opportunities they perceive for the future waste management system. So at this point of the project, we're at task 4, and we've developed the consolidated approach, and we've applied change management principles throughout the analysis to understand and incorporate into the proposed consolidated approach to garbage collection services. Should the approach be deemed favorable by county council, an implementation plan would then be developed to support the county in transition, and the findings of the analysis would be documented in a final project report. And these final tasks will only occur should we get the approval to proceed on with the study. So how much garbage are we talking about? This chart shows the 2022 ton quantities of curbside and depot collected garbage for the county as a whole and by each of the 8 townships. So in 2022, there was about 11,000 tons of garbage generated. About 7,000 of that was collected from curbside, and about 3,500 was collected from depots. So in our interviews with township staff, we summarize the info here in terms of issues and challenges and opportunities. So in terms of strengths, what we heard from the different townships was that the Clear Bags program, while there was initial pushback and some confusion around how that would work, it's been working really well as the program matures. They're seeing positive impacts related to waste diversion, and that it's a good approach for enforcement. In terms of bag tags, similar thing. This also helps townships with enforcement, and their sticker program that helps with non-compliance issues has been an effective tool for educating residents. So both of those measures together have shown to demonstrate positive impacts towards increasing waste diversion. And staff have commented that they have a good working relationship with the contractor Waste Connections, and that they're willing to return for missed collections and will collect from transfer stations on an on-call basis. In terms of issues and challenges with equipment, it was noted that there's not a lot of backup equipment with the contractor. So if there is an issue, that can delay collection, and same with if equipment breaks down and there's not sufficient backup available. Animals, there's a few townships that express concern over wildlife issues for animal-proof bins, and particularly at the transfer stations. If garbage is left outside, animals will tear that open, and then that leaves the township staff having to clean up the mess. And then customer service, this was a theme that was heard throughout by all of the townships, and that is, so some townships commented that there have been complaints regarding the county's customer service for the recycling program. And so that should there be an opportunity to upload responsibility, that's something that the county would be working on, is on clear communication for improving customer service. In terms of opportunities, so if it is uploaded to the county, it would free up staff time who were previously handling complaints, because the main point of contact in the new scenario would be the county to be the first point of contact. Cost efficiencies. So at that time, a year ago, the townships were interested in what sort of efficiencies could be gained through a harmonized program, such as decreased costs or an increased level of service. Some townships noted that the tendering of the recycling contract was expensive, and that suggested implementation of a cost plan geared towards municipalities if the county were to move forward. Further, they were maintaining the same level of service or increasing the level of service in townships is another item that the townships would be interested in. And lastly, education, similar to the previous slide, that there would need to be clear communication that it's the county's responsibility for promotion education. So moving on to the consolidated approach. So we looked at several different scenarios, but the two base cases that we were looking at and carried out throughout the analysis was as follows. So the first base case was looking at all 8 municipalities opting into a proposed consolidated approach. And then base case 2 was that all municipalities less Cavan-Monaghan would opt into a consolidated approach, because as per the Cavan-Monaghan's council resolution, the township decided to opt out of the consolidated approach, but they did agree to continue to participate in the study, which is why they're included. So the proposed approach, as directed by County Council, was to maintain the same level of service currently provided by the townships. So in that respect, that included that all properties that currently receive curbside garbage collection would continue to provide garbage collection. Garbage would be collected weekly, and garbage would still be placed into clear bags. No changes would be made to the townships. The townships would retain ownership and operation of their respective transfer stations. And to provide for a consistent program across the county, some changes were required for our assumptions in this analysis to bag limits and the bag tag program. So this table summarizes the changes that were made for us to come up forward with a consistent level of service. So it's noted that some of the bag tag limits, and in the case here of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen, it's going for 1 bag to a 2 bag per week, which we've heard as well as not ideal, given that there is success with that program. But again, for our analysis, we made an assumption as per County Council direction to maintain a consistent level of service. So in this second column there, it's noting what changes would be required for the bag tag limit. And then, for bag limits. And then the last column there shows if there would be changes to a bag tag requirement. So the consolidated approach looked at collecting 2 bags per week for residential and 6 bags per week for commercial, and that there would be no bag tags allowed as part of the program. And so that's what was carried forward in our analysis. So obviously there would need to be, whatever the changes are in the end would require a strong promotion education campaign to communicate the changes, especially those to those that are affected with the change. And customer service inquiries for concerns at the transfer station, it would still be directed to the township staff, given that there's no change to the ownership and operation of those facilities. So the next element that we looked at was looking at the existing waste collection contracts to understand the terms and the potential timeline for a consolidated approach. So this table shows the varied natures of the contract timing. So the darker bar is the contract term that's in place right now, and then hatching is the potential for a contract extension period. So it would be necessary to extend most of the contracts past their current allowable extension, depending on how long the planning and council approval takes. The timeline would require that all townships accepting their contract extensions, except for North Kawartha, and every municipality, most aside from one, would require additional extensions on top of their currently allowable. So some other considerations that are noted on the right there is that an RFP for a county-led garbage collection contract would be written, bid on, and selected by the county. So this is estimating at the earliest January 1st, 2026, of when a transition period could occur. And that the contract terms and conditions of the existing township contracts would need to be consolidated to ensure sufficient notice is provided, so that contracts are extended and terminated at the same time that the county-led contract begins. So with the consolidated approach, there's some commentary here regarding staffing requirements and potential changes to rates, fees, and bylaws. So with regards to staffing, the county staff don't anticipate that staffing levels would need to change, aside from an initial temporary staffing to handle those inquiries that come in at the outset of the change. It's assumed that their county and representatives from the township would have a county-led transition team to oversee the transition plan development and implementation to meet the target transition date. In terms of rates and fees, the proposed approach would be funded by taxation, and only residents that receive the service would pay for the service. And changes to bylaws, the county would update their bylaw to establish that power to provide curbside garbage collection to the public. And in contrast, the townships would need to repeal it and adopt new revised bylaws that reference the new county bylaw, and set out the level of service that they would continue to provide. So this is a summary of some of the pros and cons that are associated with a consolidated approach. So with respect to cons, there would be changes to get to that consistent level of service, and whatever that ends up being, there would be modifications to bag limits and collection days, initial customer confusion around a new program. The costs that we're presenting in this are what were available to us today. And so there are uncertainties regarding costs once you go out to the market. Uncertainty regarding townships opting in and out of the approach. And then in terms of pros, there would be one contract to manage. There'd be consistent promotion education across the country or the county, consistent delivery of service across the county as well, simplified messaging, potential for the waste collection contractor to establish a more efficient collection route, given that there's no township boundaries, which could result in a reduced number of vehicles traveling on county roads, and a potential efficiencies if there's a new waste diversion program that comes into place, and that could be managed under one contract. So with our understanding of what the scenarios and the base case assumptions are, our next step was to look at what the potential impacts are on the collection system as a whole. So we used our in-house collection system model that looks at the number of households, collection weeks, different factors that relate to collection, how much garbage and organics would be collected, and information about collection vehicles. And we use this information in our financial analysis to see what the potential efficiencies could be with consolidating the contract. So like I said, we ran several scenarios. In most cases, there's just different variations based on the base cases that we looked at. Again, with the first base case being that all townships are in, and then all minus Cavan-Monaghan. So scenarios 3 and 4, they consider a single election system under county contract, with the townships falling under either scenarios 1 or 2. Scenario 5 looks at a combination of various township with approximate household numbers between 10 and 20,000 households. Scenarios 6 and 7 look at a separate county contract for a curbside organics program under the two different household scenarios. Scenarios 8 and 9 look at a combined county collection contract for garbage and organics. And then scenarios 10 and 11 considers curbside collection of garbage every other week and collection of organics weekly. So using our model, the summary of the reduction in vehicles required to service curbside waste collection of individual collection versus the countywide collection is provided in this table. So scenarios 3 to 5 were compared against the base scenarios 1 and 2, where the reduction in standard vehicles ranges from 3 to 5 vehicles, and a reduction in small vehicles, which are used in for private roads and for areas that require that have restricted access. So the reduction for those types of vehicles was from 1 to 3 trucks. And a summary of the potential efficiencies with co-collection of organics and waste at the county level is also shown there, where scenarios 8 and 9 were compared against the total vehicles of scenarios 1, 2, 6, and 7. So with an understanding of where the potential reductions in collection vehicles could be, the next step was to conduct our high-level financial analysis. So we wanted to understand what the potential cost savings could be with the consolidated approach. So we looked at the township contracts, we looked at the tonnages collected over a 5-year period, looked at the waste collection schedule and household data, financial statements, and the results of our modeling that I just spoke to. So currently, the combined value of all garbage collection contracts is about $1.4 million, or 1.1 without Cavan-Monaghan. So obviously the cost savings would occur if the county's collection contract is less than the total value of the township contracts. In terms of staffing and administrative costs, there's no dedicated staff at the townships that manage the contracts, and time spent is not tracked or budgeted separately. Township staff would still continue to handle some customer service inquiries, like at the transfer stations. And so as a result, no reduction in staffing levels is anticipated, and any work that was previously spent on such activities is assumed to be redirected to other work. And so in our analysis, we didn't attribute any cost savings for township staffing. This slide illustrates the potential annual savings to the county under various scenarios. So as mentioned, the greatest savings would be gained if all townships opt into the consolidated approach. So on the leftmost column, we show going from all households to 35 to 45% of households to see where that tipping point before there's no estimated cost savings would occur. So that's at the 35 to 45% of households. For all households, the potential per household saving is between $10 to $14 without Cavan-Monaghan, and that cost savings could be used to support other programs like an organics program, or to reduce the individual property tax rate for waste management services. So with regards to bin collection and haulage, so the current contracts with Waste Connections includes the collection of garbage that's received at the transfer stations and hauling that to the disposal facility. So that would still stay as today. And so there's no cost savings anticipated as a result of that bin collection and haulage. So from the data though, that is a conservative estimate is about $450,000 for that service. Staffing and administrative costs, county would assume responsibility for management and maintenance of the consolidated contract. And so the customer service inquiries that were previously would be handled by townships would be handled by county staff. So in our analysis, we assume that for the first 6 months of the change, there would be half a full-time equivalent to manage the contract and the resident inquiries. But those staffing requirements would be confirmed through transition planning. We were asked to take a look at a high-level cost estimate for co-collecting with organics. So if there was a separate organics collection contract, that would be in the range of between 650 and 850,000 without Cavan Monaghan. The estimated contract costs for the various contract and scenario types are listed in this table. So conservatively, cost savings related to co-collection would range from 40 to 60% of the organics collection contract. And so as a result, the potential savings would be $15 to $17 without Cavan Monaghan. So last slide for me here is the feedback from townships. So in January, we did reach back out to all of the townships that we spoke to back in the summer. And what we wanted to hear, we presented them with the similar information that I'm presenting to you today. And the feedback that we heard was related to the efficiencies the proposed approach could bring. So there's questions on the number of vehicles, the cost efficiencies with co-collecting with organics. Questions were asked if there would be opportunities to provide input into a consolidated program, and if there would be opportunities to opt in or out at a later date. And then again, the similar themes with regards to who would handle resident inquiries and calls related to missed collections. So now I'll pass it back to Carrie to close off the presentation.
Okay, so thank you, Betsy. The last slide is the resolution that we received from County Council. So they have directed us to come and conduct these presentations, and they requested a motion from each township to be sent to County Council, which would be either A or B on the slide. So A would be that the township supports the inclusion to the implementation process and further costing of the study. It doesn't mean that you're committed to any sort of upload at this point. It's just that you're interested in continuing on with the study and finding out more information. Or B, that the township does not wish to be included in the study moving forward, and that you're essentially opting out at this point of being considered in a county-wide contract. And so all of those results will be compiled in a report back to County Council after we complete all these presentations and ask for direction moving forward. And so we're happy to take any questions or feedback or comments.
Okay, thank you, Carrie. And yeah, I have a couple of comments, but I'll open up the council first. And go ahead, Councillor Clement.
So, sorry. So back to page 35, it said changes to rates and fees. Only residents that receive service would pay for that service. Could you give me an example of who wouldn't be paying, like who wouldn't participate or whatever?
Through Mayor Martin, so there are about 10,000 households in the county that don't have curbside collection. So those households would not be paying for that service through their tax base, similar to how we managed the recycling program before. So those households that weren't receiving curbside collection for recycling weren't paying for that service.
And you wouldn't include those, you wouldn't give those 10,000 the option of having curbside pickup?
Through the mayor, so that would be up to you. This study has only looked at current existing level of service, so looking at residents that already have pickup. If that's something that you were interested in looking at that moving forward, that's something we could consider and reevaluate. But this study we were directed to look at existing level of service and maintaining that, so that's what's been studied so far.
Councillor Doherty.
Since we're the last ones to be presented, how many have opted out so far?
Through Mayor Martin, so out of the 7 we've done so far, 3 have opted out. Those are Cavan Monaghan, North Kawartha, and Trent Lakes. So Trent Lakes really doesn't impact the financial analysis because they didn't receive curbside collection in any of the township. So there is a little bit of reduction in the cost savings due to North Kawartha opting out. So those, once we have all the results from all of the townships, we'll reevaluate the cost estimates and bring that back to county council. The remaining townships are all have resolutions that they're interested in continuing on with the study, which would be Selwyn, Dorodummer, Otonabee, South Monaghan, and I'm forgetting the other.
Asphodel.
Asphodel North, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
No, I just, thank you for the presentation, Carrie. My question was the same in terms of, I knew that Trent Lakes was gonna opt out as well, but I didn't know about, North Kawartha, so I just wanted the rest of council to be aware that, yeah, now we're down to 5 out of 8, so I want to consider that.
Okay, go ahead.
Sorry, through you, Mayor Martin. I think I'm, because we were only getting the garbage pickup for town residents, I don't think it's feasible for us to opt in to this program. I didn't really see any real savings off of anyone in your screen. And I'm not really clear on organic because we don't have our organic pickup here. Is it a better option for us to look at that ourselves than I'm not seeing the savings that we're gonna get going with county council.
Okay, so that was my comment as far as, I sit on the waste management committee at the county, and that was one of my concerns is the garbage pickup side of it. We are supposed to go to tender to see what it would cost to provide pickup to the entire township, same as Dorodummer or North Kawartha or whatever. What that's gonna come in at, we don't know yet. So for the time being, if we were to be a part of to continue as part of the program, as long as the county's aware that we are going out to RFP, and, that could change the numbers if it came in that we want to go that route. If we don't, yeah, it might have an impact on how we go on the other side of it. But it's unfortunate right now in the timing that we did pass a resolution to go out to an RFP, but we're kind of in a transition because of this. We didn't know, where it fits in. So moving forward, the keywords in there, it does not mean that we're committed, but it would give us time to do the RFP, see where it falls out. If it's beneficial, I think like Councillor Flagler said, it would make a difference. We may be interested more if we were doing the entire township for garbage pickup, but at this time, we just don't know where it falls out. So the efficiencies, it's common sense when you look at efficiencies and delete the borders. So when trucks are out picking up, we have it right now where they're picking up on one side of the road for another township, but they don't pick up on our side of the road. Those are the things that'll fall out when the RFP comes, because it might create while they're there, they would be picking up the other side of the road too. So I think until our RFP is done, personally, I would like to see that we continue, looking at this. And like you say, and it doesn't mean that we're committed, but it'll allow us to get that other part done and to see if it's beneficial. If it's not beneficial, if we don't go with garbage pickup, like Councillor Flagler said, it might not. It's kind of like Trent Lakes. We have such a small part of our township that's doing garbage pickup. It might not be beneficial for us, but we don't know that until the RFP is done. So I think that's the next step that we need to get done, and then we would know better if this would benefit us. So,
Just for clear, have we gone out for that RFP yet?
no, I think we were waiting because of this. We weren't sure on the best time to do it because it's hard to create an RFP when it's going to change probably in 2 years. So, so that was the part that we may need help with. But the RFP should go out soon, and then we would be we would know where we stand. We've done the RFP before a few years ago. It came back, it wasn't beneficial for us, but I think it's been done a couple of times since I've been around here, but it's just a good thing to keep an eye on and look for efficiencies in anything we do. So we have heard from residents looking for garbage pickup, and but there's a cost associated with it, so that's what we need to know. So what's council's thoughts here? It's like I say, I would suggest to continue with the process. until we get our RFP done, and then, there's always an option there to switch it if it doesn't come back favorable. Councilor Blackman?
Through you, Mayor Martin. Would it not be a better option for us to pick B? And if we did pick B, is it possible after the RFP that we could come back in and opt to come back in? Is that a possibility? I just don't want to be included in your cost savings because that's gonna mess everybody else up if we decide not to go. Is that a problem?
Through the mayor, so I think that if we received approval from all the townships who wanted to be in and county council, and we actually moved to some sort of upload and put out an RFP, it would likely be through each round. Next time we do a contract, we would reach out to the townships again to say, hey, we're doing this again. Are you interested at this point? So it wouldn't be completely shutting the door. It just may not be lined up with the timing that you might want, essentially, if you opted out at this point and then wanted to opt back in later.
Sorry, through you, Mayor Martin.
Go ahead.
And that was option B, correct?
Correct.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Councilor Doherty?
There's a lot of emphasis placed on the contractor and the number of trucks. Why are we so concerned about what the contractor can provide and if he breaks down? I mean, is that not their responsibility? When we tender, they pick us up. And if they have a truck breakdown, they either have a replacement or later in the day. So I'm not sure. And the second point is, I didn't see, like Councillor Flaker mentioned, I didn't see the savings, and we seem to be whittling away at the numbers. We went from 8 to 7, and now we're down to what, 5? So it's going to increase exponentially, I assume, with less people. I mean, the cost of the cost.
So I can start and then maybe I'll just see if Betsy wants to add. So the reason why the trucks were looked at is because typically when, say, if you're going out to contract right now for an RFP, the way that the contractor bids on that project and the pricing is based on the amount of trucks they're going to need for the work, because typically they'd be purchasing those trucks. So the less trucks that can be used and the more efficient the routing, the less it's going to cost. So by combining those existing routes rather than having different trucks needed in different areas based on the township borders, there's essentially going to be a reduction in trucks needed and therefore a cost savings. So that's why that was looked at. And then as far as the cost savings, with HBM in, I believe we would still be at that 70% of households still remaining in. So that's kind of where we would be in that table, looking at the cost savings.
Thank you.
If through you, Mr. Mayor, if I can just add, yeah, so we have the numbers here on, so the number of households with Havelock in would be around 60%. And so that would still equate to about 15 to 20% of savings, cost savings, based on our analysis at this time.
Okay, thank you. So there's two options here. And, it's like I said, keywords in A, or it doesn't commit you. But it sounds like it's totally up to council. So I'll look for a motion. And Councilor Fleckler?
Yes, I would do the motion for option B.
Okay, so I have a mover for option B and seconded by Councilor Doherty. Any questions around that?
I have the motion read. I don't have it in front of me.
That the township does not wish to be included in the implementation, costing process of the garbage upload study, and that the county staff report back to the county council for decision regarding the engagement results from the townships and referral of implementation phase costing if applicable. So,
just for clarification, is there any cost to the township to go ahead with what we're doing? There's no cost to what we're doing now, is there?
No.
To go ahead with the study? Okay.
So I have a mover and a second, or any other question? Call a question, all in favor of the motion? And that's defeated. Okay, so option A is on there. Does anybody want to move it?
Sorry, through your memory. So with A, it doesn't cost us anything. What is the time frame of A? How long is it going to take us?
Through the mayor, so it depends on the direction we receive from county council and what we want to do moving forward, but essentially, we are aiming to have an RFP out towards the end of this year, with a decision for collection, so.
So A, just for clarification, no cost us. We cannot still opt out at any point. But at this point, we're still in the study.
Correct.
So to move forward, we would need something like before you go to RFP, we would need to be notified that, hey, you should have your RFP done so your proper numbers are included, because right now, like I say, I understand what Councilor Blacker is saying with, if we continue with just the village pickup, it maybe isn't as feasible for us to look at this. Now there is another piece of it, to the organic side of it too, but, so right now, we're not committed, but we would need to know before you went to RFP that, hey, it's going as is, and we probably wouldn't be interested in that, but we need to see what our RFP comes back at to see if we're even considering a change there.
Yes, we would come out to each of the townships again to notify and make sure that you did want to be part of that RFP when it goes out. And I mean, the other factor is that I think, we need to look at that as well, like adding those additional households, and county council needs to be aware that that would be included too, because that would also potentially impact any cost savings too, so.
Thank you. Councilor Flyger, go ahead.
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin. Your garbage pickup, is that every week or is that gonna be every 2 weeks?
The study looks at existing level of service, so it's looking at every week right now.
And do you have plans going forward doing every other week?
We don't know at this point. Essentially, that would have to be a county council decision, like if that's something that they want to do at that point.
Right, so we opt into this program, we get our once a week garbage, and then all of a sudden now, because we're in with county, they're gonna say, well, now we have to do organic pickup, but you're only gonna have garbage every other week. Is that a possibility?
It is a possibility, yes.
Right.
Especially with the organic side of it, because anybody that's on the organic thing right now in the city have said that they could really go with every 2 week garbage pickup, or not everyone, but a lot of people. I know I found it since I bought that recycler thing. I go every couple of weeks now because my bag has no garbage, like I don't have any garbage in it, but that's what I'm finding with it. That might happen just even in this township. We could vote that too here if we go on our own, but we have every other week pickup, but to help us save on the cost. So that's another day. But I think they're tied together. On that part of it is the organics and the garbage pickup, even on efficiencies with trucks. So what's your thoughts here? He was defeated, so the only other one there is A, or that we could first. So.
Well, I'll make a motion for A. I'll just say it right now, like I have serious questions about this program too going forward, right? But in terms of, that's why I asked the question, it's not costing us anything. I don't think we have all the information yet. And I'll just wait for it to run its course, right? And then I can say no 2 weeks from now or a month from now or whatever, but I'd just like to see a little bit more information. I think when we get into this next presentation, as you said, Council, you've only seen half the presentation. There's an organic side that's going to come up, and which might be combined with this. That looks a little bit better, I think, to agree with the mayor. But I said, let's just let this run its course. It's not costing us anything. Our staff's not doing the work, so what's the problem with gaining more information? So I'll move that.
Okay, moved by Deputy Mayor Webb that we go with A. I have a second. Seconded by Councilor Clement. Questions, comments? Bob?
Through you, Mayor Martin, just for clarification regarding the motion. The RFP that the township will be putting out will be for township-wide garbage collection. So is option A today that we're voting on township-wide garbage collection or the existing village-only garbage collection? Because then we won't be comparing apples to apples.
So through the mayor, right now it's existing garbage collection. However, if you were to opt in and you wanted that to be part of the study, then we would bring that to county council to investigate and look at that as well. So we're not saying it can only be township, the Havelock collection, but that's what's been looked at in the study so far, is the existing level of service.
So it could be amended before they go to RFP for.
So a follow-up question, then should we amend today? Do you need that information today that we want to be included as township-wide garbage collection if we vote for option A?
I think that if that is something that you are certain that you want, then you could add that. But if you're not certain at this point, then we can just add it as information in the report that it's something you're looking at and may want to continue on. So it's up to council.
I think that would be better, is to make sure it's in there that we're looking, because we have no idea what the RFP is gonna come back and whether it's even gonna be feasible. But it needs to be noted that we are looking, and it could change those numbers there. But as of now, they are the numbers that are existing. So we have a short window there to, and I think the confusion was like, how do you word the RFP when it could, like, for anybody bidding on it, it could change, in the next year or 8 months. So it's really hard to put together an RFP, but I think, we need to find out what it's gonna cost. Even if we do it on our own, we need to know that number and see where we stand and see where it falls out. So for today, we do have a mover and a seconder for this. And like I say, that could be added to the motion if that's okay, that we are investigating township-wide pickup. Just so it's on the record there that, and like I say, I think that could make a difference later if we don't go that route. We may end up just being like Trent Lakes and just stay as we are. So, okay. So with that amended, you're okay with that?
Yes.
Okay. All right then. We have a mover and a seconder.
Record vote, please.
Okay. Or your vote.
I don't know why that's funny, but it is.
Okay. You want to call it off?
Through you, Mayor Martin, a recorded vote has been requested by Councillor Doherty. And the motion is that the township supports the inclusion of the local municipality to the implementation costing process, noting that this does not mean that the local municipality is committed to or supports the uploading of garbage collection services to the county. And it be noted that HBM is considering township-wide garbage collection. So, Councillor.
For.
Councillor Webb. Mayor Martin.
Yes.
Councillor Flanagan.
Nay to the first part, yes to the second, because that's two different
do
identities
it.
that you put in there. You can't?
The motion is all in one.
Oh, okay. No.
Councillor Doherty.
No.
The motion is carried 3 votes to 2.
Thank you. Thank you, Carrie. Okay, so, motion to receive the first part of the delegation, I guess. It's two-part delegation, so,
How long is the next meeting delegation?
yeah, it should be okay.
Okay.
Okay, so, so motion to receive the delegation, moved by Deputy Mayor Webb, seconded by Councillor Clement. All in favor? Carried. So next item on here is county organics program. So
Wasn't sure if you wanted to do the other one first.
which,
The
oh, the student?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're okay.
Okay.
You used to leave at 11, right?
you have to leave at 11? Is that-
11:15 at the latest.
Yeah,
It's just
so-
starting school.
Okay, I think we're all.
Okay.
Unless she has an hour report to us.
No, I can go first.
No, I mean Guinevere.
Oh.
So, okay, go ahead.
Okay, so the second half of this delegation is looking at an organics program to tie into the garbage upload study, looking at the potential to co-collect organics with garbage if we did move to that upload, as well as looking at other organics options throughout the county. So we've been working on this alongside the garbage upload study. Maybe next slide, please. Okay, so to start, I just want to talk about why we're looking at organics, why it's important to consider this, whether it's at the county level or at the township level. So looking at a countywide organics program is part of the county's waste management master plan. This was a document approved by county council. It outlines all the initiatives that we will look at. And so that plan has an ultimate goal of diversion of waste from landfill of 60% by 2030. So we're sitting at around 54% right now throughout the entire county. It's the last year that we will be able to calculate the diversion rate this year because of the blue box transition and all of those changes. But based on our data right now, if we implemented an organics program in all the townships throughout the county and collected all that material, we would exceed that 60% diversion. We would potentially collect about 4,500 tons of organics each year. So doing this could extend the lifespan of our landfill by 2 to 3 years. So the landfill that we share with the city of Peterborough, that all the waste in the county goes to right now, has about 10 years left of site capacity. And it's millions, tens of millions of dollars to expand that landfill, or even a larger cost to find a new landfill. So while it is expensive to implement new programs like this, there is a cost savings by saving landfill space and diverting waste to prevent us from having to do that sooner. There is resident demand for an organics program. We receive questions all the time from residents in every township. Why don't we have organics? Why can't we have some sort of curbside collection for organics? Many neighboring municipalities have implemented successful programs. So City of Peterborough is the most recent example. Northumberland County, more rural, they also have a curbside collection program, as well as City of Port Lakes is implementing one this year. Something else that's pushing a lot of these municipalities to move forward with these programs is that the province has said they're considering banning food waste from landfill by 2030. So that was part of their 2018 Maine Environment Plan, and they've recommitted to this goal within the last year when they updated that plan. So the current provincial government has said that this is something they're looking at potentially doing. So if we implement some sort of organics program now, we can get ahead of that and potentially get things in place before that happens, if it does. It will also significantly reduce the county's greenhouse gas emissions. So when the organics waste goes to landfill, it creates methane, which is a much more harmful greenhouse gas than carbon dioxide. And so by processing that material, getting it out of landfill, we reduce those emissions. And there's also opportunities for efficiencies with other material collection. So if we did move to that garbage upload countywide collection program, and we could collect organics and garbage on the same truck, it reduces further the amount of trucks on the road and creates more efficiencies for collection. Next slide, please. So we looked at 3 options originally for organics, and then when this was presented to county council as well, there were some comments that there was interest in another type of program, so I've added that as a 4th option. So option 1 is looking at a curbside organics program, curbside collection everywhere that currently receives garbage and blue box curbside collection. Option 2 looked at a countertop composting option for all households. Option 3 looked at a hybrid of the 2, so curbside for households that receive curbside collection, countertop composters for the other households. And then option 4 looks at curbside collection, but just in urban, more populated areas in the county. So I'll go through each of those. So option 1, curbside organics program. So this would be weekly curbside collection. It would be the current residential and potentially commercial properties that receive garbage and blue box pickup. The additional households could be added if that was something that moved forward, if you're considering adding those other households. So the county would purchase and deliver green bins and kitchen catchers to each household. Organics would be processed at the new City of Peterborough Organics facility, which is right next to the landfill facility. And we could potentially co-collect with garbage or other materials, resulting in efficiencies, cost savings, and lower impacts on roads from less vehicles traveling. Next slide, please. So the pros of this option, in comparison to a countertop composting option, it's a more familiar option, less of a learning curve for residents, less work. They can also accept more items in them. So the curbside program that would be going to the Peterborough facility can accept things like pet waste, fats and grease. So you're increasing diversion by adding those products. It would be easier to measure diversion because we would have weights of material going to the facility. It would encourage partnership with the City of Peterborough, and we could co-collect with other materials. Cons, it is an expensive option. It's more expensive than a countertop composting option. There's a potential for more greenhouse gas emissions because there are trucks traveling on the road. Not every resident could participate, so if we only service those residents that have curbside pickup, there would be households left out of this type of program. And there could be potential wildlife concerns from having the bins out at the road. Next slide, please. So option 2, countertop composting option. This option hasn't necessarily been well received in the presentations that we've done so far or by county council, but it's something we looked at as an alternative. So this would be providing countertop composters to all households for free to participate in the program. So you are likely familiar with the food cycler. So we would do a program similar to that. We would put out an RFP to include delivery, customer service, extended warranty and maintenance. So we would have to have an extensive ongoing promotion education program for something like this. And we would phase it in over likely a 3-year period of delivering those items. So the pros of this option, it's less expensive than a curbside collection option over time. There are lower greenhouse gas emissions and less impact on roads because residents would have the unit in their home and they're managing their own material. Residents can benefit from a byproduct. So the countertop composters, you can use it for fertilizer or heating, all sorts of things. The county would be a leader first in Ontario to have a program at this scale. There would be less wildlife concerns because it would be in your house. It's not contingent on the results of the garbage upload study. So when we're looking at a curbside option and looking at co-collecting with garbage, it kind of delays any implementation of an organics program until that's sorted out. But if we went with this option, you could start anytime. There have been very positive results from pilot programs in townships in Peterborough County. Cons, less items can go in the countertop composters, not necessarily food cycler. There are other models as well. So things like pet waste, fats and grease can't go in there. More education would likely be needed. It could be considered more work for residents, harder to measure diversion, and the units would need to be replaced over time. We did factor that into our costs, but it is a reality that there would be residents that their units would break down or need replacement. Next slide, please. So option 3 is a hybrid of these two options. So we would provide curbside collection for the areas that currently receive it and provide countertop composters for the households that don't have collection. And the organics could be co-collected with other materials like garbage. Pros of this option, all households could participate, and cons, it is the most expensive option doing it this way. Different programs could cause confusion for households, and they may want to participate in a different program than what's available to them. Next slide, please. So option 4, this was something that we didn't recommend initially, but because we had a lot of comments at County Council, I've added this to the presentation. So in this option, we would collect organics in more urban areas throughout the county only. And so just as an example for this presentation, I've included the areas we collect leaf and yard waste from. So that's about 7,250 households in the county. And more areas could be defined and added if this was something that we moved forward with, but it's just as an example for this presentation. So in Havelock-Belmont-Methuen, this would include the village of Havelock. That's where we currently collect leaf and yard waste. In this option, diversion could be up to 1,200 tons per year if there was full participation in the program. This type of program, we don't anticipate a high participation rate in, and I'll talk a little bit about that in the next slide. So actually, this is just an area map showing the area that would receive collection in this option in the village of Havelock. So this is where we currently collect from. Next slide. So the pros of this urban area only option is that it's the least expensive option. The cons, so there would be lower diversion and minimal landfill site life extension. So it's about a quarter of the diversion of collected material that we would collect if we had a county-wide program. We do anticipate a low participation rate in a program like this, and that's because all you can really do to encourage participation is promotion education. You can't really do any of those other things that may get those residents who don't necessarily want to participate in. So for example, the city of Peterborough, when they implemented their organics program, they went down to waste collection every other week. You can do other things like lower bag limits and things like that. But if you're only doing organics collection in small pocketed areas, you can't implement any of those things because it's not fair to the residents that aren't part of that program. And as an example, we have a pilot program that we've been running in Bridge North since 2006. And despite, going door to door, trying to get residents to participate in the program, there's only about an 11% participation rate in the area. And so you're going to get those gung-ho residents who really want to participate in the organics program always participating, but then to get that other part of the population, you're going to have to give them some reasons to participate essentially. We also anticipate customer service challenges and frustration with this sort of program. So with our leaf and yard program, we constantly get residents who are not part of the pickup that want to be, and they're frustrated that they're not part of the collection area. It's also difficult because you can't really, there would be people paying for this service that wouldn't receive it essentially. You can't really differentiate between taxing only the households that receive this service because it's such a small number of households that it would be extremely expensive for those households. But if you tax everybody, then there's residents paying for it that don't receive that service. So it's a challenge. And then the other challenge is there's no efficiencies or economies of scale. We'd be going to pockets throughout the county for collection. Next slide. So some considerations for any option. So like I was saying, participation would benefit if garbage collection was reduced to every other week. We would have to have a strong promotion education program for all options so residents would know that it was coming and how to participate. A spring or summer startup time would be ideal so we could capture all seasonal residents and people who would be up in the county at once. And we would continue to offer our MOLUP drop-off program for residents who wanted to continue using that option. And next slide. So the next slide is the financial cost estimates. So I do anticipate that these estimates will go down. This is a worst case scenario of cost estimates. And these will be revisited once we go back to county council as well, looking at which townships were interested in participating and which aren't. So you can see just from option one, which would be the curbside option only, if we did co-collect with garbage, there are savings from doing those programs together. And these options are an annual average cost for the first 10 years. So they include the purchase of the green bins and kitchen catchers. They include processing of the material, promotion education. So basically all aspects of each program. So I do anticipate these cost estimates go down once we go back to county council with updated results from each township. Next slide, please. So we presented these options first to the County Waste Management Committee. They recommended County Council consider option one would be the curbside option for all households that currently receive curbside collection. Then we went to County Council, the same date as the garbage study. They are looking for more feedback from townships before making any decisions, so we are here today to get feedback from you. Next slide. So we have another resolution for you. This was passed by County Council. And so it is that county staff be directed to present to the local municipalities to coincide with the garbage study. One, that the township supports the county continuing to investigate a countywide organics program and provides direction to the county as to what methods that you would like considered, or that the township does not wish to proceed with the countywide organics program. And so to update you as well, the same townships who have opted out so far of the garbage study has also opted out of any sort of organics program. So that would be Havelock-Belmont-Methuen, Trent Lakes, North Kawartha. The remainder have supported curbside collection for all, and they continue to want to look at these going forward. And I think the rationale for that is the co-collection potential and cost savings there. And so that's the end of my presentation, and again, happy to take any questions or.
So the difference here in the motion, the only difference I see here is the discussion would be even if the RFP isn't successful for our township, but the village may still be interested in the organic side of it. So that'll be a discussion for another day. But right now, continuing investigating is still an option. Organics is a big thing right now. I think Cavan uses Northumberland to pick up their organics, I think, if I'm not mistaken, or they were.
They have a contractor that does it, and they were sending their material to the Northumberland area to be processed, but now are sending it to the Peterborough.
Okay, thank you. So once again, there's two options here, and the only difference, like I say, is the village may be interested in an organics program. That would be a discussion, future discussion to see if how the RFP goes, but open it up.
Yeah, just a question. You kind of answered it. Thank you again for the presentation. In terms of, I guess, option number 4, where it would be urban only pickup, and I guess by the pushback from staff was that we're not treating everybody, equal. We do that with, you reference this, the leaf pickup. It only gets done in town. And I don't hear any real complaints about that. So I know you said you guys could you give me is it a lot of complaints? Is it a few complaints? Because I really have never had anybody here in this township tell me that somebody outside of town, was mad that they didn't get leaf pickup. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I'm just saying.
Through the mayor. So our complaints don't typically come from this township.
Yeah.
I think your residents are used to the services you have, and those residents don't have curbside garbage collection, so they aren't expecting leaf pickup. But in a lot of the other townships, because they do have that curbside garbage collection and blue box collection, they feel they should also receive the leafing yard collection. So we typically receive the complaints during the leafing yard collection weeks, and I would say anywhere 2 to 3 a day calls coming in during those weeks saying, why am I not part of this? I want to set my leaves out kind of thing.
Yeah, I kind of still consider it an option because I know, and I think it was discussed at county council that day in terms of a lot of the people who live outside of town, they've been composting and getting rid of this stuff for years. So they got their own ways to get rid of it. So I think, maybe for our township, maybe just the urban could be the way to go. So.
Okay, so there's 2 suggested motions. I don't know if any other questions, comments?
So I have the compost, the countertop compost, which has drastic, I my garbage at once a month. Huge difference. I like the idea of the organic bins. I really do. And I'm all about composting, recycling, everything. So again, if we go with number 1, there's no cost. It's still included in the first one, the same as the other. And we can look at it or whatever. I'm thinking. Go ahead.
Any other questions or comments? Yeah, so it's a similar scenario here. It doesn't commit us, but it keeps us in the game for your investigations moving forward. So.
Yeah, so I'll make a motion that we go with, I guess, number one, whatever one keeps it going, because I think the organics is maybe even more important than the garbage side of this moving forward. So yeah, just to see, further continue the study and see what we get for pricing. I'll make that motion. Thank you.
Okay. Moved by Deputy Mayor Webb. Second by Councilor Clement. Question? Go ahead.
Through you, Mayor Martin, again, clarification on the motion. So there are options here. Collection would like to be considered including curbside for all, curbside for urban only, or something else.
So the motion would include them investigating all of those things, continue investigating. Is that
So through you, you can specify in your resolution which option you would prefer and what you'd like us to look into. I think that's what county council is requesting. If you want to leave it open to all options, you can. It's totally up to council.
There's only two options there.
Yeah, like the motions have two options, like there's two modes.
I'm just saying it'd be,
or urban or.
yeah, urban or all.
Yeah.
Right? Number one for each, so we get a costing for the whole township, and then another one for just, if we just did the town like we do with the leaves.
Oh, okay.
So do you want us to specify, like, it sounds like urban is one thing that we see that there would be the biggest benefit from, like, but the motion that we have here, the suggested motion, you're gonna, they would like considered including curbside for all, curbside for urban, or other considerations. So you want us to break it out to, like, it sounds like the urban is the part that we're still interested in that motion. Then is that how you meant it to be?
Yeah, so if that's what you would like us to look at is just the urban option, then you can take those other options out of the resolution and just say, like us to consider the urban option for your township, or you can add more in, leave it open.
So if we have it for all at this point until our RFP is done, we can still change that to urban later, right?
Yeah.
Like without a penalty or anything like that. So it's kind of like the other one, it's tied to the RFP.
But
So,
with that, I don't see us going to an urban collection of organics before we have garbage collection or recycle
well, it would
collection.
be in town, the urban is the town.
Or sorry, I meant rural.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
that's
saying
right,
to you?
that's right. So
Like,
it's tied
it
to
would
the-
start here and move out. We wouldn't start picking up organics
That's right.
out there before we start picking up their garbage. If we would do the garbage of them
Yeah,
at least
so that's why
at the
it's
same time.
tied to the RFP. So at this point, it would be, the curbside, like if wherever the curbside is, we can change that in the future if, which, that would be a discussion for another day, but right now it's, that,
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin, and this is a repeat question. So organic pickup, you want just for the people in town? So will that be organic pickup and garbage every week, or are we now changing garbage to every other week?
it's as it is.
Or
So
does it
right now
stay?
it's as it is, because the garbage collection that we've looked at is maintaining existing level of service, which would be every week collection. Down the road in the future, though, that is subject to change, like as we talked about before, based on county council. If we uploaded to county council, it would be their decision.
We need to specify.
Thank you.
All right, so it needs to be specified on what we're looking at, but like I say, right now, we can do the same as the other one, that until the RFP comes back, it's including curbside for all, or the considered curbside for, well, it's for everything. Organic collection would be considered for everything until our.
I would suggest potentially leaving both options in the resolution, that you're interested in us looking at them. You're not committing yourselves to either one of the options in
Until our
the
RFP
resolution.
comes back.
Yeah.
I
Okay,
tried that the first time.
Yeah.
And I said no.
okay,
Sorry.
so it's moving.
Okay, I'll
along,
move that.
and
I had a question, Mr. Mayor, through you, Mayor. Is it possible that we can just defer this? Because this seems to be a repeat from the first one that we already went through, so can we just defer this section?
Yeah, I have a motion on the floor right now.
Well, just for clarity, and do what? Because it's time sensitive, they're working on this, so I mean, how long are we talking about tomorrow, next meeting, and what are we talking about?
Are we not looking into organic pickup? Are we not looking into that with our RFP?
Just garbage.
Just garbage pickup. My concern with organic pickup is we're not gonna get garbage pickup every week. And there are people out there that need that garbage pickup every week. I understand Clement, Councillor Clement, because she uses the thing for the food and doesn't have a lot of garbage, but I'm just not, I'm not for this program. I'm sorry. Thank you.
So, okay. So once again, we do have a mover. Do we have a second to that?
Moved by Deputy Mayor Webb, seconded by Councillor Clement.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? All in favor? And that's great. So, thank you, Carrie.
Thanks.
So, with that, I'm gonna move into staff reports for information, but I'm gonna Guinevere, I know it's time sensitive on your time here, so I'll let you give your update, and so we don't hold you back.
All right,
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.
Thanks, Gary.
thank you. So I know you guys don't know too much about what we do within the school, so I just compiled it all into one. So last week, April 25th, we were able to do four-court volleyball to celebrate the 75th anniversary of OFSA. And it was teams of 4 to 6 could sign up and participate. You get to dress up and stuff, and all the money that there's $5 to sign up per person. Sorry.
Just a second.
All the money goes towards, I believe, either school activities or school athletic programs. And student council is also a big help with all the events that we do. So depending on what it is, student council will set up and tear down for it. And as well as this, student council was in charge of keeping score. So if we didn't have student council, a lot of things wouldn't run as smoothly as they do, I would believe. On May 2nd, we held a semi-formal at school, which was, I think it turned out really well. I wasn't able to attend, but I think it was a really, really good turnout. Usually for semi-formals and things, it is a cost. So we usually do $10 or $5 for a canned food item or something like that. And student council also is a big part of that. They set up and tear down, and then we sell tickets at lunch. Student council runs all of that. On May 10th, we have the Student Senate Conference. I believe it's just a couple of students from each school. They go, I think it's on Friday, May 10th, yeah. I don't know too much about that either. Currently for the spring season, the sports that we are offering at the moment are girls soccer, and Norwood also is able to host 3 of the games, which is really good. We have ultimate frisbee, badminton, and track and field. And depending on how far track and field progresses, they get to join East Regionals and OFSA. East Regionals would be at the end of May, and then OFSA is the beginning of June. We have graduation coming up, so the grade 12s, we do a breakfast for them. So they get to come in and we serve them breakfast and stuff. And then we have their high school commencement at the end of June. And then we also have our grade 8 graduation at the end of June. We offer a lot of clubs. So on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays after school, we have homework club, which I attend. It's I really enjoy doing that. It's a good way to have more help when you need it. There's always teachers there to help you. We also do homework help at lunch. The students who can't stay after school, we do have late buses, but some students still can't because they might not run past where they live. We have chess club, Nights of Novelty, which is our book club. We have a weight room club, guitar club, games club. We also have badminton club, and then yearbook and prom council. And then we have a GSA, which is Genders and Sexualities Alliance. So most of these either run at lunch or after school. And we also have the opportunity to do free lunches at school. So PC Charity, Children's Charity, I believe they donate money to our school. to put on free lunches. They happen like a couple times a month. And it's free to any ADHS students. And the foods classes help prepare it. Like, so during class, they'll prepare it so we can serve it at lunch. And we have a trip coming up on Thursday for the senior history and art class. We get to go to the ROM and the Ontario Gallery.
Nice.
That's pretty much it.
So you're looking forward to that? Are
Yeah,
you?
I'm very excited.
Very good. So, does anybody have any questions for Guinevere? Well, that's a good update, Guinevere. Yeah, like, we have a lot of students from Havelock-Belmont-Methuen that attend over there, like I told you earlier. And it's nice to know what's going on over there to, for council to understand how important that school is. So,
I was just gonna say, I was never in the homework club. Like she was. I wasn't invited to that group. So.
Homework club, the one that runs after school, is really it's a really good opportunity for me because my bus ride is about an hour home. So then by the time I get home, sometimes I don't have time to do as much homework as I'd like to do. So
perfect.
it's a good alternative.
Any other questions?
Higher.
Yeah.
Good report.
Well, thank you, Guinevere, and I
Thank
know
you.
it's time sensitive, but yeah, thank you very much. So, moving on, we're gonna take a 10-minute recess and
Motion to receive.
motion to receive Guinevere's report, moved by Deputy Mayor Webb, seconded by Councillor Doherty. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you, Guinevere. So I'm gonna ask for a 10-minute recess here, so we'll come back a quarter after. Moved by Councillor Flagler, seconded by Councillor George. All in favor? Carried. So, oh, sorry. Want to do that again?
I don't know if they're gonna remember the order now.
Well, it's not them, it's the public. So, okay. So that was moved by Councillor Doherty, seconded by Deputy Mayor Webb, that we resume the meeting. And our next delegation here is Robbie Beatty, and with regards to the library board. Connie, are you coming up with it, or?
Okay. How do I turn this on?
Just push the top button.
Oh,
There you go.
thank you. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Robbie Beatty. I've been a resident of Havelock since 2009, and my husband's family has lived here since 1916. I am currently the chair of the Havelock-Belmont-Methuen Libraries, and am very proud of it. Now, today, I'm starting my presentation by giving you two numbers. The first one is $1,828.05. The second one is 12 hours. As in previous sessions or council meetings, we obtained approval to install a bench, and I don't know why I'm nervous, but I am. So we installed a bench on the front lawn of the library. To do that, we will require, I believe, Peter's team and also Josh's team to install a pad and a stand to, first of all, secure the bench, and second of all, to place the mini library that we have. Now, the benefits we feel this will have on the community is once we have a lot of visitors coming into town or people without internet that come to the library, and generally they were sitting on the front steps to use our Wi-Fi. So in order for them to accommodate them and to also, well, perk up the front of the library, we elected to purchase a bench, which we did with the proceeds from, partial proceeds from have Tim Hortons cookie campaign, Smile Cookie campaign. So it's not as if we came here to get the money, but we are for the installation and the hours. So I have copies of Josh's estimate, if you would care to take a look at them. Now, none of us are mathematicians or, know about density or whatever on cement, who the contractors should be, et cetera.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Thank you.
The second part of this, Josh's group have advised us that they need 9 hours to complete their portion of the installation, which would be to remove grass, put meshing down, da-da-da-da-da-da. And it's sort of outlined in the program. And Peter's crew would need to come in and do a bit of digging. I think that's right. So that's where the 12 hours comes in. And we're asking that their time be in kind, since it's going to benefit the library building itself in Havelock and perk it up a bit. We're kind of excited that we get approval for this. So any questions for me?
So yeah, I'll open it up to council if there's any questions for Robbie. I haven't really had a chance to look at the numbers and everything, but I know this has been going on for a long time, so.
Just for clarification, thank you very much, Robbie. Thanks for all the work both you and Connie do over there.
Okay, appreciate it.
And Councilor Clement. I think Councilor Doherty was on that committee, so. Thank you. At the start, you said 1828.05, and what you handed me out, Robbie, says 1678.05. Is there an extra cost on top that I'm missing?
Well, that's me. I wanted to make sure you were listening.
Oh, I thought maybe your fee was the extra 130. So is the is what I have on the paper right then, 1678? Okay.
1678.05. Now that's an estimate.
No, yep. And you said approximately 12 hours from our staff, right?
Yes.
Nine from Parks and 3 from Pete.
Yes.
And
And they've always been good to us, and we always do what they tell us to do. So we're good citizens that way.
thank you very much for the presentation, bringing everything forward.
Okay.
Okay. So Councilor Sligo, go ahead.
For you, Mayor Martin. One question, this is just for the bench, correct?
No, we've already paid for the bench.
Okay, okay.
This is strictly the installation part of it.
Okay, and the outdoor library you mentioned?
That was donated to us by the Women's Institute.
Okay.
And it's a little library where right now it's in the basement in a closet leaning up against the wall. We're very excited to get it installed so we can put it into service.
Okay.
And it would carry paperback books and et cetera for anyone to come and get. So
Yes, I do realize that the library is a very busy spot. And I believe it was the Ladies Auxiliary that wanted to put the outdoor library down at the Parkette. Is that the same people?
That's it.
Okay, perfect.
So
Thank you
looking
very
at the
much.
library, yeah. So depending on where we get. Okay, Councilor Doherty, go ahead and then.
I was just gonna make a motion. Go ahead.
Well, I'm confused. When was this not on the budget when it come up to put the bench in? So we
at that time, we didn't know, we hadn't had an estimate. We were just basically getting approval for it. So, and I believe a council at that time came back and said, we'd like to know an estimate of what the costs are going to be. So
we didn't have it in the budget.
Yeah.
I think we talked about it.
Talked about it, but never got it in there because we didn't have a number. That's the next question, really, is where it comes from, like if we support it, so.
To you, Mayor Martin. I think that's a fabulous idea. So I'd like to put the motion moving forward that we grant this request. Is that good enough?
Yeah, it just, maybe staff could bring back where we get it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, we could do it out of council initiatives too.
Yeah.
It's not that,
That's
it's only
yeah.
$1,600, right?
That's
So-
right.
Yeah.
You can add that to it,
Yeah,
and
that-
council initiatives.
Okay, that'd be fine, Jim.
Thank you. Second by Deputy Mayor Webb. Any questions, comments? All in favor? And that's carried.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you. And sorry I was so nervous. Usually I'm not.
You're getting warmed up at the end there.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, gentlemen and
Thank you.
ladies. Thank you very much.
All right then, so. Okay, the next item on the agenda is staff reports for information. We have 2 reports there from the chief, the fire chief. Any questions around them? The one is for February's incident summary. Go ahead.
I believe, I don't know whether Ray's on or not, but I left a message for him yesterday. In the January report that came in, it was produced the same as the previous years. We've had the deputy fire chief in, and at that time we requested that he segregate out or separate out the calls so we'd have some idea what kind of volume that is being provided. I don't see them on there. I'm just curious as to why they aren't there. That's all.
Okay. Ray, go ahead.
Yeah, through you, Mayor Martin. Councillor Doherty, that report will be coming to a closed session report because it'll have individual names on it. So it'll be coming to hopefully next meeting's closed session report meeting.
Yeah.
I'm confused with names on it. Okay. So that'll capsulize the January, February, March then?
It'll do the first quarter, yes. Sorry, through you, Mayor Martin, it'll do the first quarter.
Okay.
Okay. So we have a report for February and March, incident report.
Motion to receive.
Motion to receive, moved by Deputy Mayor Webb, second by Councillor Flagler. Any other questions? All in favor? And that's carried. Okay. The next on here is staff reports with follow-up action. You're on again, Ray. Fire paging, the paging agreement.
Yep. So through you, Mayor Martin, the purpose of this report is to get the bylaw made up for the new paging system that's coming in that we talked about when we were doing budget items. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Any questions for the chief? Go ahead.
Turn the mic on. Majority of them. Yeah, Ray, you mentioned it in the report there that we dealt with this through budget. Do you know the budget figure we put up? Was it 85?
I would have to go, sorry, through you, Mayor Martin, I would have to go back and look for that, but I believe it was somewhere around there, yes.
Okay, so at like 52 a month, yeah, we're well under the 85, right?
Yes, yes.
Thank you, Ray.
Okay, Councilor Doherty.
Ray, is there anything in there and what the annual increase will be? Is it hooked to inflation or is it this 5166 is for the 7 years?
This will be for the 7 years, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right. So, so the motion, the recommendation here is that the clerk prepare the necessary bylaw for this. So go ahead with the recommendation, moved by Councillor Clement, second by Councillor Doherty. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, thank you, Ray.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item on here is the tender award for the Havelock pickup truck. Welcome, Peter. So,
Good morning, Mayor Martin and members of council. The first report here today is the purpose to obtain council's approval to award tender number PW 202403 for one new 2024 half-ton pickup truck.
questions around that? There's a recommendation there that we approval for the staff tender. So, Councilor Flecker, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Peter, through you, Mayor Martin, the half-ton truck that are you operating one of, like the half-ton truck now? Like, do you have a truck? No, so this is a brand new vehicle and we're not selling a vehicle on Gibbs or whatever.
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin. Yeah, no, that is correct, Councilor Flager. This is one that has been sold in previous years that never got replaced.
Thank you, Peter.
Okay. Any other questions? So, go ahead. Councilor.
Delivery, when's the expected?
Through you, Mayor Martin, with the specifications that was in the tender, I've contacted the lowest bid that's been recommended, and it's approximately 2 to 3 months.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. So look for a motion with regard to the recommendation. So, did we have one?
We have it.
Did we have the motion there, Bob?
No, I didn't.
No, we do not have a motion.
No, so it's moved by
I just
Councilor
made
Doherty.
one.
Thank you. Second by Councilor Fleming. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, the next item here is the sidewalk tractor. Peter?
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin. The purpose of this report is to obtain council's direction for Unit 1144, our current old sidewalk tractor, in choosing one of the two options listed below. Option 1, that staff sell the unit sidewalk tractor on gov deals. Option 2, that staff retain the unit 1144 sidewalk tractor in the Public Works Department fleet, which could be used as a backup for a second unit.
Okay, so it reached its life expectancy for the sidewalks as far as, opportunity for breakdowns and things like that. But looking at it, see them online and stuff on what they're going for, there is an opportunity here. When I look at the transfer station over there, to have a broom on there and to help us clean the transfer station, that's an option, or we can sell it. So that's one of the benefits I see if we were to retain it. Other than that, it would go on gov deals, but there is some good, even as a backup in the winter time. But the main thing is, to help us at the transfer station. But that's just an option. Go ahead.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, further to that, if we're gonna do that at the transfer station, don't we pay somebody to do the sweeping here in town? I mean, could we be doing that on our own sidewalks and stuff? But
No, we don't do the sidewalks with it, like sweep the sidewalks. They do sweeping. No, you couldn't do the streets with it.
what we could do, I don't know.
We pay someone to do the streets.
Yeah.
But we don't pay to do sidewalks sweeping.
Okay.
No. It's just for mainly winter maintenance is what it was right now. There is a chore to change the blower and blades back and forth, so that's another option. But it's totally up to council. Like, we can sell it, and then, but it might be worth checking it for a year to see.
I was kind of going where you were going in terms of, like, I just think there might be more uses for it than just
there might
the dump, right?
There might.
In terms of, I don't know if they sweep the arena parking lot or how often we get that done, but just areas that could be generally cleaned up that aren't cleaned up as of right now, right? So.
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin. So it is, it does have the broom on it, and it does do our sidewalks. Could be doing transfer stations, summer maintenance, also being a backup in winter maintenance, and it could be used as just a blower as well. We could have the attachment for the snow blower on it. So at any given time, it does take a fair bit of labor to switch our attachments around on that unit. So it would save some time, and we can switch gears very quick, or bring it in as a backup if our new machine does break and we are under the minimum maintenance standards and have an obligation to have our sidewalks cleared in a certain amount of time.
And further to that, if we did put on gov deals, any estimate in terms of what we would get back for it, Pete? Would it be less than $10,000?
I would suggest it would be.
Not gonna get a whole lot for it.
Well, through you, Mayor Martin, as we keep all the attachments, it's just a tractor, so.
So what's council's thoughts here? Option one is to sell, and option two is to retain as a backup. Councilor.
I'd like, sorry, through you, Mayor Martin, I'd like to go with option two and retain it. I think Peter's got the right idea of reusing it in the wintertime for alternative uses.
Okay, so I have a mover, seconder.
No, question? Sorry, do you want to second it before we do the questions? I don't know the order.
It's normally I get a seconder, but if.
Okay.
Does anybody want to second the motion to?
I'll second the motion.
Okay, so it's seconded by
To keep,
Deputy Mayor Webb. Yeah, okay, so go ahead, Councilor Doherty.
I talked to Peter yesterday about it. It's in good repair. It's a 2011. Why did we get the new one if we're going to keep the other one as a backup? And then when we buy a new one, is the people who provide the new machine, if it breaks down, would they not commit to giving us something if they can't fix it right away? Might be something. And the other thing is, we don't really know what it's worth, and we could do with a reserve bid and test the waters. That's just my thoughts. Thank you.
Okay. All right, so we'll do the motion first, and then that's another option as far as seeing what it's worth on gut deals with a reserve. So
just a further question to that, Pete. So if we have two and we have numerous attachments, is it a possibility we could be running two of them at the same time?
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin, we could, in some scenarios now, in the winter maintenance alone, with the amount of snowfall that we receive, we can have the blower on the one and the blade on the other cleaning up as well. So it is definitely an option.
Thank you.
okay. All right, so we'll deal with the motion first, and then see where it falls out. But the other option is to put it on gut deals. And so, any other questions around the motion? Go ahead.
And the motion is to keep the
keep
tractor
it.
as a spare?
Yeah.
Correct? Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right, then I'm going to call the question. All in favor of the motion? So, and that's carried. Okay. All right, so next item, the overhead door. Peter?
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin. This report is to obtain council's approval and to purchase a budget item in 2024 for an overhead garage door at 116 Concession Street.
Okay. And this is to be able to get the dump truck into there?
Yes.
Or other equipment?
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin. Yeah, so this will allow us to get a grader inside or our own single axle or tandem inside with the wing on and plow for winter maintenance. But currently, right now, it's very tight to get a tandem in the door with no wing or attachments. So yes, and then we've listed some of the estimates that we received. Variations there, but staff are recommending the second lowest due to just some more structural integrity that company is willing to put into the door to make it more operable and safe as the building is in some more structure to hold the door, basically.
Councilor Flagler, did you have?
Yes, I did. Just one, through you, Mayor Martin. Are we not using the one on the 6th line anymore? Why is everything up in that building?
Sorry, through you, Mayor Martin. Could you clarify your question, Councilor Flagler?
Yes, let me rephrase it. Are we now using the building on Concession to house our equipment? So you've got the snow plows in there, you've got the tandem truck in there. What other vehicles are now at the 6th line?
So through you, Mayor Martin. So currently at the 6th line, we have 3 tandems that have doors that they fit in, and 2 smaller doors at the 6th line that we can't fit tandems in for winter maintenance. Currently, right now, during winter maintenance, we have our single axle stored at the back of the fire hall to keep it inside. And then again, it's very close to fitting. And before we obtained that building, the township obtained that building, we had our sidewalk machine in the back of the fire hall as well. So currently, yes, we could fit a tandem and single axle in that building if we go with the new door.
Through you, Mayor Martin, so then that eliminates the fire station in other areas where you are, but you're still using the one on the 6th line, correct? Okay,
Yes,
thank you, Peter.
yes, through you, Mayor Martin. Yeah, the 6th lane is full, and then that would delete the fire station, and then Ray could have the fire hall. And,
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you.
So it's mainly village equipment for the winter is stored at the Midtown?
Yes.
Okay, thank
Yes,
you.
yeah.
Okay,
I was gonna say,
all right, so what's your thoughts here, Deputy Mayor Webb? go ahead.
Yeah, just for clarification, I think Pete, you kind of work. So we're going with the second lowest price, but they're adding to it. They're going to remove and dispose of the old door and opener, cut the opening to fit the new door, and weld in a new H-frame, of which that was not included in the others prices, right?
So, yeah, through you, Mayor Martin. So this one actually, this contractor that we're recommending actually is bringing in some new steel welding to the existing steel. All of the contractors had to cut the door to make it wider, but this one's actually building another frame to support the new door. So it's going to be definitely a stronger and reusable door in down the road if we decide that we could salvage it or move it or put it to another location.
Is this a contractor we worked with before?
Through you, Mayor Martin. No, we've never worked with this contractor before. Verbally speaking, he's done work for Winslow's, Duro Dummer, installed their garage doors, so he's a reputable contractor.
Thank you.
So, okay,
Ooh, Bobby.
all right, any other questions? If not, there is.
I'll make a motion.
You're gonna move the recommendation? Okay, moved by Deputy Mayor Webb, second by Councilor Blackett. All in favor? And that's carried. Thank you, Peter. All right, Arya, so the next item on here is planning and the good old provincial policies.
Through you, Mayor Martin. So the purpose and effect of this report is to inform council regarding the release of the proposed provincial planning statement. It's literally a change of words from provincial policy statement to the planning statement, 2024, which was posted on the Environmental Registry of Ontario, which is pretty much the province's forum to collect comments and whatnot. They have provided a commenting period of 30 days. So they have passed the legislation for first reading, and we have 30 days to comment on it. So the recommendation is that council authorize staff, excuse me, to provide commentary to the province of Ontario regarding the proposed new provincial planning statement 2024. So just a little bit about background on this. So these changes that are being proposed to planning legislation and policy, it should be really assessed through the lens of housing and the acceleration of housing intensification. So Section 3 of the Planning Act essentially authorizes the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing with the ability to issue certain policy statements on matters relating to municipal planning that, in the opinion of the minister, are what constitute quote-unquote provincial interests. Under the Planning Act, planning decisions that council does make shall be consistent with these provincial policy statements, such as the current PPS, the provincial policy statement right now that had taken effect in 2020, as well as conforming to the provincial plans such as the growth plan for the Greater Golden Horseshoe. So essentially, the decisions that council makes should maintain consistency with or shall conform with these provincial plans. So since 2022, the province has reviewed approaches to accelerating and streamlining the approvals for residential housing, especially within Southern Ontario. Several planning legislation had been amended via the Bill 109, Bill 23. I believe both of these bills, report was taken to council, a similar report. They have since been initiated by the province to support the development of housing and removing any form of barrier resulting from the approval of residential intensification. So the most recent proposal from the province included the replacement of the provincial policy statement and the growth plan for the Greater Golden Horseshoe, and its replacement would be the provincial planning statement, 2024. And this plan, essentially, it's not really a plan, it's the policies that are implemented by the province. They are meant to introduce new and updated policies regarding the increase or acceleration of residential intensification, as well as scoping the protection of employment areas and promoting a range of and mixture of housing options, including housing for students as well as seniors. The new provincial planning statement had been drafted back in 2023. The province received quite a bit of commentary regarding it. There were some areas of the provincial planning statement that were very contentious, such as like prime agricultural areas and whatnot. But they have further updated the provincial planning statement in 2024. So this is the document that we're reviewing. And by no means, this is not an exhaustive list of changes. These are just changes that, the following changes are mainly applicable to the township. So one of the themes is housing, the big one, right? The new proposed policy, and the section is 2.1.2, provides that planning authorities may continue to forecast growth using population and employment forecasts previously issued by the province for the purposes of land use planning. Furthermore, section 2.2 of the PPS indicates that planning authorities shall provide for an appropriate range and mixture of housing options and densities to meet the needs of current and projected future residents by establishing minimum targets for provisions of housing that is considered quote unquote affordable, as well as, or affordable to low and moderate income household. So essentially what this, this change is stating is that municipal authorities can essentially plan or forecast for the future based off of density targets. That's essentially it. And I will go into a little bit more on what that kind of means. The policy would also continue to require planning authorities to permit and facilitate development and redevelopment of underutilized commercial as well as institutional sites for residential development. This proposed policy would have the effect of essentially encouraging residential intensification as well as increasing housing supply across all municipalities. So my planning comments, or in the township staff's planning comments, essentially, it's kind of difficult to assess strategically forecast these changes. However, I took a little stab at it. To the permissions to allow for all types of housing or residential housing intensification, including the development and redevelopment of underutilized commercial and institutional spaces, may have certain implications for the township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen, mainly in the urban area of Havelock. We have, based off of my understanding of the properties in Havelock, there are quite a bit of extensive inventory of underutilized commercial spaces, very typical for hamlet areas as well as rural municipalities. So policies addressing housing in the 2024 PPS seem to indicate that all form of residential intensification shall be encouraged, all. The township currently has an in effect community improvement plan that was passed in 2017, which encourages the supporting and continued use of commercial spaces. Also, as commercial uses play a very important role in the community fabric of all communities. So the proposed policy would seem to indicate that residential uses are to be sort of elevated to a top priority as opposed to the continuation of commercial and underutilized institutional spaces. So that is pretty much my comments in regards to that theme. The next theme is settlement area and settlement area boundaries. So settlement area boundaries, we essentially have three of them. One of them under a current official plan, Fullerton is one of them, Havelock is another, and Portola Mines is another one. The new draft policy, namely section 2.3.16, would direct planning authorities to establish sort of phasing policies where appropriate to ensure that development within designated growth areas such as Havelock is orderly and aligns with the timely provision of infrastructure and public services. Furthermore, the 2024 PPS also contains certain policies to permit planning authorities to identify new settlement areas or allow settlement area expansions at any time. Previously, it used to be that during certain times you were allowed to expand settlement area boundaries. For instance, if we were going to expand Havelock's settlement area boundary, it was to be done during a municipal comprehensive review, which is pretty much every 4 years. Municipalities have to get together and update their policies and their official plans. It was at one time, it was that process had to be done during that time. You couldn't do it any other time. However, under this new regime, it would be essentially that you could expand settlement area boundaries at any time. So that's pretty much a change there. Whereas the 2023 draft, again, like I said, the provincial planning statement was drafted in 2023 and then amended in 2024. In the 2023 draft, planning authorities should, the key word in there is should, consider specific conditions for settlement areas, expansion of settlement areas. The 2024 edition, however, proposes that planning authorities, quote unquote, shall consider these matters. A slight shift in word is kind of important because should could mean something completely different in a legal text than shall. And finally, the proposed 2024 PPS proposes to provide planning authorities with the permission to identify new settlement areas on the condition that infrastructure and public services are going to be available to support the proposed development. So what it's pretty much saying is that new settlement area boundaries could be established at any time. So my staff's commentary, essentially, I don't really have much comments to implement here, mainly because, and I did include the county's report that identified it addressed these issues. I kind of agree, or staff agrees with the county's comments in relation to it. And their comments are, it opens the door to more appeals for settlement area boundaries, because a lot of planners will say that the expansion of settlement area boundaries could constitute sprawl in some situations. So there could be the door opening for more appeals. And number two, if it's done with compact development and the creation of complete communities, there should be no further concerns in that regard. And what that kind of means is if the expansion is orderly, if it respects environmental integrity, if it respects social cohesion and the creation of these complete communities, there should be no concern. The next theme is rural areas. A majority of the previous policies outlined in the current PPS, the 2020 version, they remain unchanged. However, contrary to the 2023 draft, the 2024 version does not include multi-lot residential development as a permitted use on rural land. So the 2023 plan, essentially, again, taking that lens from housing, it said that you could create multi-lot residential development on rural lands. What that pretty much means is your planning authorities are permitted to approve rural plans of subdivision. This was repealed, and this no longer is part of the plan. The provincial policy statement now says that multi-lot residential development is not permitted. So the majority of growth is to be allocated to the settlement area boundaries. They get Havelock and there. No comments to share here on behalf of staff. In terms of the employment, the policy changes affecting the employment areas mainly involve the Peterborough County's new official plan. So I am anticipating that some policies are going to be included to bring in a conformity with this plan. So that is on a stay tuned basis, I guess. So staff don't really have comments to share now. Sewage, water, and stormwater is another theme. Section 3.6.1D of the 2024 PPS requires that municipalities give consideration to the allocation and reallocation of the unused system capacity of municipal servicing to meet the current or projected needs of housing supply. So it pretty much gives the municipality a little bit more control in terms of allocating infrastructure such as like sewers and water to these lands that that require them in the future if they're not being used. In the 2024 PPS, it also provides that individual on-site servicing may be permitted within rural settlement areas such as Havelock, provided the site conditions are suitable for the long-term provisions of such services without any negative impact. So what it's kind of doing is the province is saying, sure, you don't have capacity. Let's just say in a situation where you don't have capacity, you are permitted on an interim basis to provide for individual private services such as septic systems and wells and whatnot. And then that will buy you some time until servicing is kept up to pace and the infrastructure is extended. Township staff are in general support of this proposed policy. The preference should always be, from a planning perspective, that municipal sewage and water services be extended or expanded over time, over a specific period of time, I should say, through what is referred to as a servicing master plan to accommodate developmental growth. However, this new policy may afford the municipality, quote unquote, some wiggle room to provide private on-site servicing on an interim basis. And finally, the last thing is agriculture. So, and this would include lot creation and prime agricultural lands. So the municipalities will still be required to designate and protect prime agricultural lands, and I will go into what prime agricultural kind of means. However, the new PPS, under its policy section 4.3, will make it easier to create housing within agricultural lands, whether it's housing for a house, an additional dwelling unit. It's making it a little easier to do that. According to the draft policy, and so the 2024 policy under section 4.3.25, residential dwellings will be permitted on lots that have prime agricultural lands, and up to 2 additional residential units shall be permitted in accordance with provincial guidance. Now, this provincial guidance hasn't kicked in yet because it's still going through the first reading, and I assume that after, or I'm going to predict that after the act has received royal assent, there would be some regulations that come into effect. And some of those regulations would be like conformity with minimum distancing from livestock facilities, and proximity to the principal dwellings and whatnot. According to a press release from Aaron Bearless, the province's intent of this policy is to permit more housing on farms for farmers, for non-farmers, or farm workers without the need to create a new law. I think this is generally, from my perspective, it is kind of supportable. One of the most contentious aspects of the 2023 draft of the provincial planning statement had been the creation of lots in prime agricultural lands. And here, when we're talking about prime agricultural lands, it's dependent upon the soil in which the land is proposed on, okay? And the soil classes go from 1 to 7. Classes 1 through to 3 are considered quote unquote prime agricultural lands. Very suitable for agricultural purposes. Anything below 4 to 7 is considered not prime, so it wouldn't be suitable. It's still suitable for certain types of agricultural uses, but not all. So under this, in a general sense, essentially, the 2024 provincial planning statement brings forward most of the policies regarding the creation of lots in prime agricultural lands. And originally, in the 2023 draft, it appeared that the province was allowing the permission of a creation up to 3 residential lots from an existing farm lot. However, the 2024 PPS largely reverses those permissions, and section 4.3.31 discourages actually lot creation in prime agricultural areas and would only permit lot creation for agricultural uses and resident surplus to agricultural operations if certain criteria are being met. So it is going back to the previous policies that says you cannot create new lots on prime agricultural land. You have to meet this specific criteria. So from a township planning perspective, so the township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen does not currently have an extended amount of prime agricultural lands. They do exist in the southwestern orientation of the township. A majority of prime agricultural lands or an OSM in Cabot, Montague, and Duro. And I believe Trend Lakes also has some too. We maintain general support for this policy section and the commentary provided by Peterborough County regarding them. Agricultural uses are a strong driver of the rural economy across the entire county of Peterborough, and lands that are classified as prime agricultural lands should be protected for the long term. And again, the township doesn't really have an extended amount of prime agricultural lands, but we do have some quote unquote candidate lands, areas that could be considered prime agricultural lands. And this mainly, the commentary here regarding this section is providing solidarity with our neighboring municipalities who do have an extended amount of prime agricultural lands, as well as agricultural landowners. I believe that prime agricultural lands should be protected for the law. And that concludes my first report.
Thank you, Arya. So any questions for Arya? Go ahead, Deputy Webb.
So, yeah, thank you very much, Ari. It's quite a good report and a lot of information in there. I'm glad I haven't read the whole thing. Just reading the report kind of makes me, I'll just ask you bluntly, do you really think that this is going to help municipalities open up, like, and get more building done? Because a lot of the times there you reference stuff that went into the 2023 draft that I thought were good little things in terms of lot creations and whatnot, and they've obviously been pulled in the final draft here. So are we not, to me, it seems like we're pretty much almost back where we were when we started 5 years ago with the same thing. And there's not a whole lot of kind of new ways for townships like us. Well, to me, like what all they're doing is in terms of settlement areas and eliminating, say, the lot creation in rural areas. That's just work for Ari and our planning department to try and figure out areas here around Havelock where we have to put the houses, right? We might not have that space where it's Havelock, Norwood, Duro, but maybe if we go 5 miles out of town, right, we have that space. But by doing this with the rural designation, you're tying our hands. So you're basically telling us you have to use this land. And I think some of these communities like us don't have this land around, say, settlement areas that are here. You know, that's why they haven't expanded, because there's nowhere left to expand, whether it be because of geology or whatnot, you know what I mean? And so if we designate areas where we can build, you know, as long as it's, I understand the prime ag and stuff like that, but why is the province standing in our way? Like, we keep hearing about this housing crisis. Every time somebody wants to build a house, they've got 10 more rules that you got to follow, right? So which way is it? Like, and I don't mean, I know, we'll get back to the planning. Answer, please.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I completely agree with a lot of what you said. I think this new provincial planning statement kind of goes in hand with the Bill 185, which is the next report coming up. However, there are some key areas that, in my personal experience, I believe that this provincial planning statement essentially is one document that applies to all municipalities. I agree with Councillor Webb. That's kind of tough to do when, you know, you have policies that are very applicable to urban GTA level urban areas, but how are they applicable to smaller rural communities? It's tough to kind of do that under one document. And so I would say that some of these provisions here does make council's decision or council's powers strengthen it a little bit, mainly because they have more control over what to do with land in their areas, as opposed to the 2022 plan, except for the prime agricultural land. I remember specifically that when that was first proposed, the agricultural unions were all over. They really did not give much wiggle room to the province, and they reverted back all of those policies as a result of that.
We heard some of that again. But thank you very much for the report, Ari.
Okay, Councillor Doherty, go ahead.
Mayor, when lot creation, wasn't there a time limit too? You couldn't reapply for 15 to 20 years. Is that still in there now once you reach your max?
Through you, Mayor Martin. Yes, so essentially the timelines and whatnot are governed under like official plans. The plan doesn't really talk about, like the provincial planning statement doesn't really talk about timelines and whatnot. It does in specific areas like lot creation and prime agricultural lands. But I think any timelines that are going to be imposed is done through the county of Peterborough's official.
Follow up, the prime agricultural land, you said 1 to 7, 1 to 3 is prime. So when somebody applies for a additional lot, that's the first thing we get is a report on whether it's prime or not, or is everything already designated and color coded or do whatever they do?
Through you, Mayor Martin. Yes, so already this classification was done back in the 70s. So it's already like in place right now. Like if you look at the zoning map, for instance, of HBM, a majority, if not all, of the southwestern corridor is all agricultural zoned. And I don't believe we are designating prime agricultural lands because I believe those are just candidate areas. They're not actual prime agricultural lands. But just going back to your question, the creation of lots will still require, in prime agricultural lands, it will still require them meeting certain criteria. And without those criteria being met, it won't pass planning approval.
Any other questions? So the recommendation there already says about provide authorized staff to provide commentary. It sounded like you don't have a lot of commentary, but it gives you a little bit to reply back to the province.
Review, Mayor Martin, yes, absolutely.
Okay.
And I can also include any comments that you guys.
Sure.
I liked his comment about the fact what we talked about in terms of this is a one size fits all kind of approach, right? And maybe municipalities like ours would do better with not something that was like that, because as you said, we're nothing like the city of Peterborough or the city of Toronto. So I appreciate that comment. Like you include that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. So move the recommendation with that input there. You can wordsmith it, but yeah. So moved by Deputy Mayor Webb, second by Councillor Clement. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay. The next item here is cutting red tape.
Through you, Mayor Martin. Yeah, so this is the second half of the report. Essentially, is the cutting of the red tape to Build More Homes Act, 2024. I'm just going to refer to this act as Bill 185 because it's just important. The purpose and effect of this report is to inform council of recent legislative changes resulting from the passing of the proposed passing of Bill 185. It's currently in first reading right now with a commenting period again of 30 days. And the recommendation is pretty much the same as the previous one, that council authorized staff to provide commentary to the province of Ontario regarding the proposed Bill 185 on the Environmental Registry of Ontario. And just by way of the background information on this, in April of 2024, the province presented the Legislative Assembly of Ontario with Bill 185 alongside the release of the 2024 provincial planning statement. And again, the planning statement, they're kind of interrelated with one another, but provincial planning statement is meant to replace the provincial policy statement of 2020 and the growth plan and sort of unify them in one quote unquote plan, which will be provincial planning statement. This is another key piece of legislation for which the province of Ontario has proposed to address housing or lack thereof, housing shortages or residential intensification, that's another way of putting it, and streamlining the approval process for residential intensification. Numerous changes are being proposed as a result of Bill 185. It's literally like a 400-page document, but a lot of it has to do with the Planning Act, the Municipal Act, as well as the Development Charges Act. The balance of this report, or the majority of this report, is going to be only addressing the Planning Act related matters. I don't have specific expertise in the Development Cost Charges Act. That would be more or less suitable for Watson and consultants to provide that. So the following are a list of proposed changes that would have the effect of having local, quote unquote, implications for the township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen. And I'll go through it with themes again. Number one is the elimination of third-party appeals. In 2022, with the passing of the More Homes Built Faster Act, which is Bill 23, the province introduced limitations to the right of appeal for the approval of minor variances draft plans of subdivision and consents to separate applications. So basically what the province was initiating was if there is a minor variance application for approval or draft plan of subdivision or a consent application, that third parties are not permitted anymore to appeal them to the Ontario Land Tribunal. The province amended the Planning Act to include, as part of this bill, a new definition, which is namely quote unquote specified persons, and this will include hydro companies, municipal staff, as well as the minister. And the definition is in the Planning Act, but the right to appeal would be only extended to specified people. Neighbors are not included in this. The definition is meant to include entities, again, such as utility providers, pipeline and rail operators, and other similar public/private corporations, municipalities included. In essence, the right to appeal the above applications disqualified third-party applicants, such as or applicants, such as neighbors or advocacy associations. Bill 185 proposes to extend, again, the Bill 23 limitations to zoning bylaw amendments now and official plan amendments. So if one, for instance, I live next to someone who we're both designated under the official plan of residential, and he or she comes to change the designation to commercial, I will not have the right to appeal. It still maintains the right to come to council to voice concerns. However, the right to appeal has been eliminated for third party or applicants. In terms of township staff planning commentary, staff in some ways support these changes, mainly because it would result in less frivolous appeals to the Ontario Land Tribunal. Such appeals often result in administrative burdens and are costly in terms of time and money for municipalities. Owners of adjacent properties and third-party stakeholders still maintain the right to come to council sessions under the democratic process to voice their opinion. However, the right to appeal the decision will now not be allowed for official plan amendments and zoning bylaw. The next theme is new appeal rights for settlement area expansion applications. Okay, so currently the Planning Act does not provide a private applicant, such as like neighbors and advocacy associations, to appeal the right, private applicants with the right to appeal a refusal of either an official plan amendment and or zoning bylaw amendment that would have the effect of expanding / altering a settlement area boundary. So Bill 185 does intend on reversing this restriction. The legislation proposed to allow private applicants with the ability to appeal the approval authority, municipalities, refusal or non-decision of a settlement area expansion, so long as the proposed boundary expansion does not include lands within the Greenbelt area. So essentially what the province is proposing is if someone comes for an official plan amendment or a zoning bylaw amendment to expand settlement area boundaries such as Havelock, and the township or the municipality essentially denies the application or doesn't make a decision in a specific amount of time, an appeal could be filed. So just by way of township planning commentary, the proposed changes would mean that private applicants can make an application for an official plan amendment or a zoning bylaw amendment to expand settlement area boundaries and have its refusal or denial appeal to the Ontario Land Tribunal. The rationale kind of behind this is, according to Eric Berlis, is to remove any form of political influence from important decisions relating to settlement area boundary expansions. Right now, it is kind of uncertain at this point in time of whether these changes are going to have positive effect and negative effect. We kind of have to wait to see how the ball rolls with that. On one hand, from a planning perspective, these changes may result in contributing towards the development of sprawl. On the other hand, these proposed changes would also allow private applicants with the ability to make appeal to the Ontario Land Tribunal for settlement area boundary expansions that are accompanied by clear justification and supported by applicable studies. So in certain cases where an applicant, let's just say, files for a zoning bylaw amendment, and they do environmental studies, they do land use compatibility studies, sound, odor, whatever, all the studies, and it seems as if it meets good planning rationale, then the municipality denies that application, the third party or the applicant is allowed to appeal that decision. The next theme is the use it or lose it tool, quote unquote. It is commonplace in the development industry for projects to receive draft approvals, but not move forward with any form of building permits within a timely manner. To address this, Bill 185 proposes to expand on the existing municipal authority to attach, quote unquote, lapsing provisions to approve site plan applications and draft plans of subdivision. So whenever the municipality endorses or approves site plan applications, or site plan control applications or plans of subdivision, council does have the right now to include timelines. If you, essentially it's use it or lose it, quote unquote. If you do not, if the time period lapses, then it will go to someone else. In other words, the province is permitting approval authorities with the ability to provide lapsing provisions, again, to site plan approvals and draft plans of subdivision. More or less, a timeline can now be imposed in order to obtain final approvals in a timely manner. The prescribed time period shall be no less than or exceed a time period that may be applicable to the development or less than 3 years. So what they're saying is the timeline should be fair. It should be fair. If it's a draft plan of subdivision, shovels in the ground may take a year, may take 2, but it cannot exceed more than 3 years. Or indeed less than 3 years, sorry. Furthermore, where draft plan of subdivision was approved on before March 27th of 1995, the approval will lapse on the 3rd anniversary of the changes coming into effect. We don't have any plans of subdivision currently at the moment that were approved prior to 1995, so this kind of wouldn't be applicable to the township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen. And according to Aaron Fairless, they're the law firm that does municipal planning. The key aim of this proposed change would be to ensure that housing starts are matched with municipal efforts to create enabling infrastructure. It also it will also provide development proponents, with a better understanding of their anticipated timelines between Planning Act approvals and building permit applications. Staff are in a position to provide support to this proposed change. It essentially this is really a streamlining exercise that is being done. The next theme is the removal of mandatory pre-consultations and fee refund. So Bill 109, back in 2022, introduced mandatory Planning Act application fee refunds for zoning bylaw amendments, site plan approvals, and combined official plan and zoning bylaw amendments. So essentially, if a township does not make a decision in time, they have to refund. It's mandatory for them to refund the applicant of the fees that they paid, based off of like how long it took. If it was like past 3 months or 4 months, then you give like 75% of the fee back to them. In essence, the ability to appeal and get a refund was entirely tied to the clock, the moment the approval authority deemed the above application or whatever application as complete. And as a result of Bill 109, the Township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen did pass a mandatory pre-consultation bylaw in order to meet Planning Act timelines. And the purpose for that was, defining what a complete application means is very difficult to do when you have like multiple studies in the works, right? So essentially, the township and many municipalities across southern Ontario drafted up bylaws that said it is mandatory for you to go through a pre-consultation for a zoning bylaw. This would essentially give the municipality a little bit more time to assess each application. Bill 185 now proposes to remove the municipal authority's ability to require pre-consultation for applications involving official plan amendments, zoning bylaw amendments, site plan approvals, and draft plans of subdivision. So essentially, pre-consultations and pre-consultations are just a meeting between municipality staff, consultants, whoever it is involved in the process, and the applicant. They would essentially not be required or a mandatory requirement to go through a pre-consultation has been reversed. So now proponents or applicants are not required to go through the pre-consultation process. Bill 185 also proposes to erase the Bill 109 fee refund timeline or free refund requirement. So if a timely manner application wasn't done in like 3 months or whatever, the 75% refund, that's no more. Any refund is just completely gone. Furthermore, the current Planning Act, the Planning Act says that once a municipality has deemed an application as incomplete, the applicant would then have 30 days to make a motion to the Ontario Land Tribunal to dispute that determination. Bill 185 further proposes to remove the 30-day deadline. Instead, applicants can bring a motion to the determination of a complete application at any time. At any time after the application fee has been paid or pre-consultation has been. So if, let's just say someone came to us at the township and wanted a pre-consultation for a draft plan of or let's just say it's a big commercial facility. After you do the pre-consultation, they can make a motion to essentially, and sorry, let's just say it's for a commercial development and the township says you need to have an environmental study, you need to have a noise study, all these studies. And they dispute that. They say, well, we don't need to do a noise study. If that determination has been done after the pre-consultation, the applicant can take the township to the Ontario Land Tribunal for their determination. So essentially, it does. I kind of don't really understand the reason for keeping the mandatory or reversing the mandatory pre-consultations. That game it doesn't make much sense. I agree, essentially, or township staff agree mostly with the free refund structure being removed. That is very important because that really did push a lot of municipalities, especially in like urban areas of Kingston and Belleville. You will never, it's impossible for them to deem an application complete within 30 days. There's so many departments it has to go to before it's determined. So removing that would be definitely a benefit. However, the mandatory pre-consultation, the removal of it, I don't really understand the rationale yet. I think it's in the best interest of the applicant and everybody involved in the development process to go through a pre-consultation because it gives the opportunity for everyone to engage in dialogue. What would be required, what the timelines would be, all that stuff. To not require that as a mandatory step would just leave confusion and issues down. And finally, the next theme is the broadening of regulations for additional dwelling units. So currently the Planning Act, it allows the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing to make regulations establishing requirements and standards for second or third residential units in either a detached house, a semi-detached house, or a row house with respect to a residential unit in a building or structure ancillary to such a house. So all in all, I know that was a lot to kind of take in, but it just says that the minister is allowed to make regulations in relation to additional dwelling units. That's all it is. It's like if you have a house on a property, the minister can provide regulations on how to construct the second house on the property, a smaller house, a garden suite, granny, whatever you want to call it. So Bill 185 proposes to widen the scope of the minister's ability to regulate not only second and third residential units, but any additional dwelling unit in a house, as well as any land on which the additional dwelling units are being located on, and the building and structure with which the additional dwelling unit is being proposed. Staff don't really have much comments in this regard, mainly because of the fact that you have to kind of wait for the regulations to kick in to really understand where this will go. And the next theme is the exemption of community facilities from Planning Act requirements. Bill 185 proposes to authorize regulations that provide for the non-application of any provision of the Planning Act to certain classes of community facilities that meet prescribed requirements. community facilities that are being contemplated, just as by way of information for you guys, is schools, hospitals, and long-term care facilities. So essentially what the province is doing is saying for community facilities such as schools, hospitals, and long-term care facilities, they will be exempt from certain Planning Act requirements. The purpose of this proposed change is to expedite the approval process for the development of such community facilities, hospitals, universities, schools, and whatnot. Township staff don't really have comments in this regard. I think it is a benefit, and the non-comment here is providing slight support to it because, it is tough to put a university somewhere or a hospital or any form of community facility to go through the planning process. They have to go through site plan approval, they have to go through studies and whatnot. This would make it a little bit easier for that facilitation of development to take place. The next one, and final one under the Planning Act, well, actually, this is actually not related to the plan, it's the Municipal Act. It kind of relates to the Planning Act a little bit, but is municipal servicing allocation. So under section 70.3 of the Planning Act, municipalities are permitted to pass bylaws establishing a system for allocating municipal services such as water and sanitary sewer to lands that are subject to an application under section 51 of the Planning Act. And that section 51 applies to plans of subdivision. So essentially the Planning Act says that councils or municipalities can pass bylaws to determine how municipal servicing is going to be extended to certain properties that are being created through plans of subdivision. Bill 185 proposes to repeal section 70.3. Instead, Bill 185 proposes to amend the Municipal Act with a new section, which is section 86.1, which proposes that a municipality may by bylaw adopt a policy providing for the allocation of municipal servicing. And according to Aaron Bear, listed at a law firm that studies this matter, such policy could include the following. A system for tracking, this is number one, a system for tracking water supply and sewage capacity available to support group development. And number two, establishing certain criteria respecting the allocation of water and water supply and sewage for development applications. Once the bylaw is passed, the enforcement of it and the administration of this policy must be assigned to an officer or an agent of the municipality. And any decisions made by this person shall be deemed final. Township staff don't really see any issues with this. Township staff support the proposed changes. This is mainly to ensure that development of infrastructure keeps up with the proposals for housing. It's no use to create plans of subdivisions if you can't extend infrastructure to them. So this would make it a little bit easier and give the municipality a little bit more control in terms of allocating sewer services or water to these proposed forms of development. And finally, very ministerial comment is regarding the Development Charges Act. Several sections of the Development Charges Act are also proposed to be amended in addition to the above changes that I have mentioned. Watson and Associates is our consulting firm developing the township's current development cost bylaw, development charges bylaw. They would be a better fit to provide commentary in regards. And I believe they did send out some correspondence on these changes and how they can see how it's applicable to the municipalities they work with. And that finalizes or concludes my report.
We'll go through it again. Lots of changes going on, eh? Okay, so any questions for Arya?
Who would that designated person be? Or do we have to designate a council? Like who does that?
Through to you, Mayor Martin, to you, Councilor Doherty. I believe it would be council. It would be council that designates this person under a bylaw. I think the process, Bob would be more familiar with that, but it could be like council designates Bob, for instance, as that person, or the planning staff or CBO. It wouldn't really matter. But it would be council's decision, as is my understanding.
Thank you.
And sorry, just in terms of it being deemed final, excuse me, that means it can't be taken on for appeal to a higher board.
Through to you.
But not final in terms of council acting on.
Yeah, so essentially it's final. However, my understanding of the legal system in Ontario is really anything could be appealed on legal, but it has to be on a legal basis to the Superior Court. So I would say that whoever's decision it is for this policy or the administration of it, it would be final. Yeah.
All right then, so, once again, the recommendation here is, for you to provide commentary, and I don't know whether council has anything they want added to it, but, it would give you the freedom to comment on some of the things that you have problems with, if there's anything, so. So if somebody wanted to move the recommendation, go ahead, any questions?
So, through you, Mayor. So Ari, you're going to have some very strong comments you're going to be sending along with this?
Through to you, Mayor Martin. Excuse me. Essentially, the comments that I provide, like township planning comments, those are the comments that I'm going to be sharing with the province. Strong comments, yeah, it's just more or less going to be an objective matter, but yeah, the comments that are provided here are going to be essentially forwarded to the province on the Environmental Registry of Ontario, unless council wants to revise them or they want to add a comment or two.
Oh, you've done a great job, trust me.
Okay, so I'll move the recommendation. You want to move the
Yes, I
recommendation?
will, sorry.
Okay, moved by Councillor Clement. The recommendation, second by Councillor Dory. Any other questions? All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, the next three items on here are for the Economic Development Officer is not here today, so how are we dealing with that, Bob?
Our planning assistant will present the first report.
Okay.
Through to your Mayor Martin, I'll present the first report. Sherry Gottschalk is the author of this report. I'm presenting on her behalf, and this is in relation to C3917 Rogers Tower placement on municipal property, and the municipal property is West Kosh Transfer Station. So the purpose of this report, as part of the Eastern Ontario Regional Network, referred to as CellGap initiative, Rogers Communication has approached the township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen to lease a portion of the municipality's or municipally owned West Kosh waste transfer site to build a telecommunications tower to better serve a broad swath of residents as well as visitors. And the purpose, again, the purpose of this report is to also provide information and seek direction from council regarding leasing municipal land to the telecommunications proponent, Rogers Communications, for installation of a 90-meter guide, I think I'm saying that word right, guide or guide, wire telecommunications tower to be located on a portion of West Kosh Transfer Station. I believe the portion would be the northwestern portion. So the recommendation is that council approve the location of the proposed telecommunication tower, Rogers Telecommunications Tower, within the West Kosh Transfer Station, as shown on the GIS map image in the report that was provided by Rogers, as well as council directs a bylaw to be prepared to authorize the telecommunications site agreement lease with Rogers Communication. That council authorizes and directs that the bylaw state that the mayor and clerk have authority to sign a telecommunications site agreement lease with Rogers Telecommunications for a portion of West Kosh waste transfer site. That the execution of the lease agreement is contingent on approvals of Rogers Communication Tower installation application in compliance with the Township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen's communications tower installation policy. And finally, the recommendation is that as well is that execution of the lease agreement between Rogers Communication and the township is required to authorize the construction and location of the proposed tower on municipally owned land. So just by way of some background on this, as stated in the Township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen's communication tower policy, the statement and purposes spell out that the township recognizes the importance of establishing cell phone as well as internet communication accessibility throughout the entire township for the purposes of health, safety, or recreation. And our policy also states that the township's commitment to establishing access to cell phone and internet communication networks throughout the municipality, as well as expanding these communications networks, it is essentially it's an important economic driver for our communities across Havelock-Belmont-Methuen. The Township of Havelock-Belmont-Methuen's installation policy requires all telecommunications or telecommunication proponents meet Safety Code 6, Health Canada's radio frequency guidelines. Essentially, Safety Code 6 is one of a series of safety codes that provides radiation protection guidance for radiation emitting devices such as Wi-Fi, cell phones, smart meters, and 5G technology. For further information regarding the safety of 5G technology and health effects of radio frequency electromagnetic fields, the author of this report encourages seeing the attached document, What is Safety 6? And health effects of radio frequency electromagnetic fields, including 5G. This was done by Ontario Public Health. So key municipal staff have discussed and reviewed the attached design documentation. Each staff member has asked to provide comments for the purpose of this report, which are the following. Travis Thomas, the chief building official, no concerns with the proposal as long as the policy is being followed. Myself, I share no concerns for the telecommunications tower at West Kosh as long as the process is being done in accordance with and respects current legislation and policy, and adequate public consultation is provided. Peter Lawson, the manager of public works, I've met with the proponent, Eric Belchamber, I believe he works on behalf of Rogers. And my only concern is, quote unquote, was the transfer site being left open during construction. Essentially, the gates would be left open for construction. My concerns have been addressed, and I have no further issues. And Ray, no issues. Ray, our fire chief, no issues with the proposed cell phone tower. The financial impacts associated with this would be the leasing agreement is it is proprietary information and confidential, which will be addressed during a closed session matter. That said, the financial impact is estimated to be in the range of $15,000 annual rent. And this process was done in consultation with Bob Angioni, our CAO and clerk, Travis Toms, our CBO, Aria Jazzy, planning assistant, Peter Lawson, manager of public works, and Ray Haynes, fire chief. There are some attachments, I believe, that the author of this report also provided and respectfully submitted on behalf of Jerry Kostruk.
Okay. Through you, Mayor Martin. Mr. Belchamber is on the Zoom call. Should council have any questions for him directly?
Okay. All right. So
Thank you very much for the report, Aria. Very well done. And Sherry, she's not here, but thank you for the report. I'll just make a motion to approve.
okay. So we have a mover, and do I have a seconder for this first? And I think there's a question to follow. So, does anybody want to second the motion? Okay. You're seconding it?
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a seconder. Questions to speak to the motion?
So I do have a question about the tapping into the hydro at the transfer station, because currently we would pay for that. And I'm sure we don't spend a lot there. Is there any alternative hydro that you could go, if you're gonna go overhead instead of buried, which I understand because of the area? Any other hydro poles that are outside of there that you could connect to versus using the transfer station? There's no hydro anywhere there? That's it. Oh, well, that's all that problem, isn't it?
So, yeah,
There's no hydro.
no hydro, so that would. So,
Okay.
Mr. Belchamber, can you speak to the hydro issue?
Certainly, thank you very much, through Mayor Martin. The closest hydro source that I identified when I was on site, I believe a couple of weeks ago, is in the area of the Blue Mountain Lodge. And so we would propose likely sourcing hydro from the main primary line there and go up Blue Mountain Road to the north and then across on West Kosh Road heading northeast to the waste transfer station. And that would be at our expense.
Okay. All right then. Are there any other questions around the motion? Go ahead.
Yes, I just have one question. Was there a public inquiry? Like, did you get public input on this tower, the input? Because I believe that's our transfer station on 46, correct?
No, on West Kosh.
I'm a little confused then. Is that up?
46.
It's up 40, County Road 6 to West Kosh.
Okay, so I'm not even thinking, I'm thinking 46.
Yeah, no, it's
Near Jack Lake.
Okay, so it is Jackwood.
Near Jack.
But off the
That's
road, off the road.
Okay.
Off the road.
All right, so again, has there been any notifications to the public in that area or?
Go ahead, Mr. Belthammer.
Thank you very much, through Mayor Martin. This initial discussion is to gauge whether or not the township would like to host a tower on their property. And if you decide to do so, then at that point we would prepare a formal site survey and get the lease agreement signed. And after that process is completed, then we would complete the municipal consultation as required under the township's policy. And so that would require notifying adjacent property owners within a radius of 3 times the height of the tower. I think the closest residential property is about 800 plus meters away. And so we're really doing our best through the Eorn Cell Gap project to find the least worst possible place to put it, while still ensuring that your community has a substantial improvement in service.
So there is a piece to the process about circulating. Okay, thank you.
Sorry, it's on Kosh.
It's on Cashabon. So, yeah, okay, so that's one of our concerns. I think I've seen that before. It does have to get circulated to people adjacent to it, and there is a number there, and yeah, I've seen it before. So, okay, so we have a mover and a seconder. Is there any other questions about carrying on with the process? All right, all in favor of the motion? And that's carried. Okay. Next item on here is, you don't want to do it too, are you? You're doing so well. Okay, so the next item here is free Wi-Fi for, Bob?
Through you, Mayor Martin, our Economic Development Officer who wrote this report is unable to be with us today, so I will present on her behalf. This report presents a request for free Wi-Fi service and for the Chamber of Commerce to be reimbursed for providing that service along Ottawa Street, east and west. And Mr. McCutcheon is here in the audience if you wish to ask him any questions directly.
Okay. Any questions, Council?
Motion to approve.
Where is it coming from? That's the only thing with that.
Yeah. It's,
Through you, Mayor Martin, this expense, if approved, has not been budgeted for, so council would have to
just direct where
allocate it.
I don't know, because I got the same question coming up on the next motion too. So maybe, I don't know if I can group them together in terms of where we're gonna get it from. So,
Yeah, so, yeah.
or the next report, I mean, I got the same
If
question.
you want to lump them together, or we can do like.
Well, I'm just, in terms of where the money comes from, I don't care. Like, this is smaller than the other one, but I got questions on the next report.
I'll second.
Well, yeah.
Okay, so we'll, if it's so small, I'll say council initiatives for that.
Okay.
And then we'll deal with the other ones in a minute.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, okay, moved and seconded. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, so we'll move into the next week. Yeah, the visitor center staffing. So we want to speak to this one, Bob?
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin, once again, our Economic Development Officer is not able to be with us, so I will present this report on her behalf. And this report presents a request for the township to reimburse for the cost of visitor center staffing in the months of July and August 2024, and there's a number there of approximately $11,000. This is an unbudgeted item, so council will have to direct, if approved, from where this will be paid.
Okay, Councilor Piper?
Yeah, I'll put a motion on that we accept that and that the money will come out of council initiative. This is very important that we do have some staff down there, you know?
No, you didn't make the motion yet, but go, that's fine.
Okay.
Sorry.
So we have a mover, whereas as it stands right now, is there a seconder for that?
Yeah, I'll second the motion. I just have a couple of questions and maybe a comment. So background on this, we have right here. In the past, the chamber, come on, right? In the past, the chamber received grant money for these positions, right?
Just push the talk button there. Oh. There you go.
Yes, through Mayor Martin. This is probably I guess it's the second year out of my experience of 15 to 20 years that the local Chamber of Commerce were unsuccessful in the Canada Summer Job Grant application. I hope it wasn't politics, like liberal versus conservative. I don't think it was that, but no, the Chamber, we've always depended upon a Canada Summer Job Grant to subsidize the university student or whomever was the information ambassador in the kiosk for the months of July and August. And unfortunately, this year, the chamber application was unsuccessful.
Yeah, thank you for I just wanted you to explain it. Have it come from your mouth because I'm of the same understanding. In fact, what somebody told me was to actually change the criteria of the grant, which kind of eliminated, that's why you didn't get the grant, because whatever we're doing there in terms of promotion and whatnot, that's no longer covered under this grant. So that being said, as you said, this has been going on for a number of years. I think it's come along. It's getting better in terms of, I know there's more and more people stopping there, as you referred to it. The person there we kind of look at as an ambassador for the town in terms of, welcoming new people, letting them know where some of our sites and things that they can go visit are in town. So from my point of view, I'm especially with other things we're doing here in the township, I think it's important to kind of keep this going in terms of communication for people and whatnot. So yeah,
Okay, so we have a mover and a seconder. The one question I had, and I don't know whether it would be beneficial, is if we were to write the Minister of Tourism or wherever this grant came from, because like the Deputy Mayor said, it's really important for communities like ours to have this. And we have been successful in the past, but it would be nice to see if there's something there that we're not behind the 8 ball like we are today and want to start next month. So I just wonder if it's worth writing a letter to the minister that's in charge of this file to say that we have been successful in the past, but it's kind of hit and miss, and we would like to see this program brought out to help communities like ours. I don't know whether it would help, but we need to let them know that we need something consistent.
And I would probably suggest that our current MP be copied.
Yeah.
Just to be aware of the situation.
So that would be my suggestion to add to the motion, that if we're covering it this year, it's a huge, we use that money, it's council initiatives, but that money gets used for a lot of community things that weren't budgeted for. And that's quite a hit to what we had there. So did you have something, Jerry?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm a little confused. Maybe Ray, you could help me out here. It says last year we were cut back by 50%. Is that, am I reading right? It says in 2023, the CSJ funding program was reduced by 50%. That was last year's?
And I'm not privy to the report, Councillor. The chamber president is at work today, and I think the president and Sherry had prepared some figures and whatnot on the report. I'm just here, hopefully I can answer some of the questions.
Well, I'm just a little confused because it says, as a result, Havelock Chamber received funding for only one staff position. That would be in 23, right? So if we reduced to 50% last year, we didn't add anything in our budget for 24. So we knew it was cut in half last year. And then it says, I guess I'm confused with the numbers. It says they're going to cost $9,268 for the thing, and we're asked for $11,100. Is there some added cost, computers? Just a question.
Yes, okay, I think I'm with you now. When we put the grant application in, I called a couple of other people prepare the application, but I pretty well know what the content is, hopefully. We usually request funding for 2 summer students. When we have 2 summer students, the kiosk can be open 7 days a week, whereas if it's one person, the kiosk is dark, maybe Tuesday, Wednesday, or a couple of the the days that have less visitors to the kiosk. So we always put in the Canada Summer Job Grant requesting 2 positions, and we were successful quite often with getting to the 2023 the powers that be in Ottawa approved to 1 summer position. So I think that's where the 50% figure is maybe coming from, Sherry.
So, and Councillor Flanker might be able to help there too.
Yes, further to Ray's comments. Yes, last year the program was cut in half, so we only had the 1 summer student. So the building wasn't open 7 days a week. This year she did put in for the funding, but didn't receive any comment back from, and she was going to contact the MP. So I'm not sure on that. So she would like to have 2 students there, so it's open 7 days a week. I mean, it is great for our community. The chamber has, I know we have talked about going out to businesses, getting some pictures, doing some advertising, that type of thing. And I think it's great for the community. So and again, I'm not sure if we can direct staff to look into other, maybe they've got another grant out there that's different from the ones that we have been doing.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, so we have a mover and a seconder for moving ahead with this with council initiatives.
So quick, what are we moving in the 11-1? The 2 people?
Yeah. It's to move
I
ahead.
just took, the math doesn't math to me, but that's all right.
Well, that was, sorry, the 11-1 is explained in the financial impact. So it's 9268 plus 15 to 20% mandatory employer required contributions.
Yeah.
So the 93 wasn't the average number then?
Well, that's the pay, but then there's benefits. So,
well, we never very often add that.
no, but it said together, it says at the end, it says together, the total estimated cost is to be 11-1. So,
Okay.
yeah, just further to that, and then maybe it's what Councillor Doherty's going, like to help the town moving forward though. We got a lot of sticks in the fire. So I mean, I'm assuming next year we'll do our part in terms of getting a hold of the proper agency to see if they can fix this grant. But what kind of funds is the chamber looking at, like, are we looking at bringing in terms of moving this forward so that we're not coming back to council every year asking for, because this is something that we don't mind taking on, but I don't want to be doing this in perpetuity, right? Because this is just something we're going to have to add to the role going forward. So I'm just wondering in terms of.
Right, okay, through you, Mayor Martin. I believe going forward, the chamber would like to have 2 staff members there. They would like to see that building open 7 days a week. And people do stop there and inquire, and they can advertise our local businesses, our lakes, or tell, where you can go for a swim or So I think going forward to staff. So if we could find a grant that will cover that, I
Mhm.
mean, that would be great. And there, I don't understand why the government has now eliminated that grant.
Well, and that's just what I'm getting at, and
I
Ray,
don't
do
get
you
it.
understand what,
Yes,
maybe this chamber should look at other sources of revenue here moving forward in
Right.
terms of maybe that grant doesn't come back, right? And then that's what I'm saying for you guys to come back here year after year. Imagine we can do it for a few years, right? But the burden's gonna grow with every
That's
year you
right.
come back, so.
so we need to relay that to the chamber, that it sounds like, well, it hasn't been passed yet, but there is a motion here that will support it this year. That being said, I think there's gonna have to be some discussion between the township and the chamber that this can't go on forever, so we might have to come up with a different way of doing things, so. But right now, there is a motion on the floor, to support as the two people, the whole thing here of the 11,000. There's a mover and a seconder. Is there any other questions around it? Go ahead.
So just a suggestion for us for the Wi-Fi for the year or whatever. Why is we, the township, why don't we just take it over? I mean,
Well, that one we already dealt with, so.
but I mean, okay, sorry.
Yeah, we already dealt with it in the last.
I just meant for going forward, sorry.
Yeah, so that might be a suggestion at budget time or whatever, but,
Yep.
so, okay, so the motion's on the floor.
Do we have anything left in council initiatives we different?
Well, that was, the other thing is we never discussed where this is coming out of.
Yeah,
And sorry, further through that, I would like to see it not come out of council initiatives. To me, this isn't a council initiatives kind of thing. This is something that.
Through you, Mayor Martin, the
there's
motion
money-
was to take the funding to approve the request and pay for it through council initiatives.
so.
This motion?
Yeah.
Because I didn't hear her say council initiatives, though.
Fine.
I heard her say that we wanted type 2.
Okay. Well, we can clarify the motion.
Well, I'm just wondering in terms of what we got there and what's left, right? Because this is 11, this isn't $200 or $300, this is 11,000, so.
So as far as if there was a grant or whatever, and I know there's a process of hiring people, but this right now runs July and August. So this could be deferred to our next meeting because it's, I know it's time sensitive, but for one thing, we need to find out where it's coming from and how much money is left there. And maybe we could get a little more information, but we do have a motion on the floor. But if the mover and the seconder are okay with that, to retract the motion, we could do that now, and then we could defer this to the next meeting to find out where the money would come from. Like, it's easy to say council initiatives, but like you say, maybe there's another option. But if we could bring this back to the first meeting, well, I guess there's another meeting in May, just to get some clarification on this and see where it's gonna come from. Would that be?
Yeah, but can we not just approve it in theory and then worry about the funding at the next meeting? Like I said, give the approval for it to go ahead so they can go and do their hiring, and then we'll worry about what account it comes out of at the next meeting.
Lionel, you're on there?
Sorry, I don't know if that's possible or not.
Lionel?
Through you, Chair. Yeah, like as has been noted already, there are several different options. I mean, we could go to the council initiatives, but and that was topped up to 45 during the last budget. So if council isn't sure about that amount coming from council initiatives, they could also, as an option, have it come out of the administration reserve as well.
So can we have a discussion about that? Because I think maybe we can do half and half, or we can split it.
So if we retract the motion and just,
and there might be money in ECDF as well, right? So.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So, CEO Bob.
Further to Deputy Mayor's earlier comments, if you wish to approve today with funding pending to be discussed at the next meeting, or approve in principle today with funding to be discussed at the next council meeting.
That's your motion. Do you want to do that? Okay.
And if the mover and seconder agree to amend that motion, we'll put it forward as a proven principle with funding to be discussed at the next council.
Okay. All right then. Councilor Doherty?
No, I just said we need to get it approved so that the chamber can get their advert out and get the people hired, because we are, seeing schools out.
Okay, all right, so we have a motion on the floor. All in favor? And that's carried.
So, and then further to that, I make a motion that we contact province or feds, whoever the grant were, to let them know about, the changes to this grant and how it's affecting our chamber and whatnot, so. Yeah, I'll move that.
Moved by- Seconded by.
I know that wasn't very clear, Bob, but.
I got it.
Yeah, okay. Any questions around that motion? All in favor? And that's carried.
I'd just like to thank the council for consideration and positive attitude.
So our last item is staff report for follow-up action. Is rural link. With regards to the water tower installation.
Through you, Mayor Martin, this report presents an application with Rural Links for the installation of a wireless internet site. And we do have with us Mr. Abrams is in the audience to answer any specific questions that we may have. But this report presents an agreement with some of the principles, and in discussions with Mr. Abrams, I suggested that we get a formal legal agreement drawn up regarding this matter, and Rural Links is agreeable to that, so that's what the report suggests, and that agreement would come back to a future council meeting.
Okay. I'll go back to council. Go ahead, Deb.
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin. Thank you very much for your report. Now, the tower that goes on top of a water tower, is that a tower or are you just putting like a stick up there?
We'll let Mr. Abrams.
Yeah, well, I'm supposed to look at it.
Okay.
Good afternoon, right?
Oh, no, sorry, I'm on there.
It's technology.
Well, we can work with some new technology. There is not really a tower that's going on a water tower. It'd be basically a mailing device for a mast, which is probably the device that would hold the mast would be about 4 feet high. The mast itself be 8 to 10 feet. So the actual size of the structure on top of the tower is very minimal.
Okay. So, in terms of minute, like I have the drawing here, I have it up here. So it says 2-inch diameter, 8-foot mast.
Yes, that's right.
And how many of those are going up there?
There'll be 4 that are put on that structure. It's an L-shaped structure. The horizontal pieces are approximately 48 inches high, and they're mounted to the 3 designated melting plates that are on top of that tower. They've been designated by an engineering company. So that drawing of that mounting structure has been customized for those 3 mounting plates.
And anything going on those masts, right? Or the masts
Yeah,
themselves, the
we
antennas?
will have, the masts themselves will house the antennas, so we will have wind load specs for those pieces of equipment, and the weights and so forth.
So in terms of if they're gonna be, do we know the size of them? They're gonna be fixed to these 8-foot pipes, I guess?
Yes, that's
Okay.
right.
Do we know
They're
the-
approximately 12 by 12, somewhere around like 18 by 18, which is usually square panels.
Inches, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. Okay. Cool. Thank you very much.
Very minimal.
And this fastened to the railing, or is it right
To
on
the
the?
3 structures, the 3 mounting structures on the tower, designated plates.
Sure.
Furthermore, on the handrail sides, there'll be a couple of locations that we have to determine where, according to where we need the antennas to point, but it's 360 degrees around the tower. And those are all structurally fastened to the tower already. So any mounting that we have on there, as same with the OCWA, with their antennas, that's where they suggest that we put any of that type of stuff. So that still has to be determined in the future. what goes on those, but it's the main melding part that I think that was gonna concern everybody right now at the top of the tower.
All right. Thank you, Ray. Councilor Flyway?
Yes, my concern with this is, if we allow your company to put a tower on top of our water tower, is that gonna, invite other companies to come and say, well, I would like our tower up there? Or maybe a company in town would like to have a flag going, to advertise for their, company. And two, have you done any, public, I would like to see public consultation on this, especially for the residents that live close. Has there been anything?
Public consultation, I would assume would have been done when the water tower was built, because it is the water tower that is the largest structure. We are just attaching antennas that are still, for instance, the OCWA has an antenna up there right now. I would personally myself would like to be included in the agreement that no other companies go up there to do the same type of internet projection that I'm doing, mainly because when you get too many people trying to transmit the same signal, frequencies get overlapped, and it defeats the whole purpose of having a good internet system if you have too many up there. And you've probably seen it in other water towers where they get cluttered with a bunch of stuff and they never do work properly. So I think it's important that Rulinks as a local company to HBM, that, we try to do this as a partnership, not as a competitor trying to, enter in an outside competitor that isn't part of the community. Rulinks definitely wants to make sure that this is something that's a community effort. You're a local internet company and they're very verified.
Okay, your other comment was that you were gonna supply free internet. I'm not understanding that.
That's compensation for the water tower tenancy. So we can supply free Wi-Fi internet, as in the proposal for the arena, the ball diamond. And we've also decided, talking with Mr. Angeloni, that we're gonna supply some Wi-Fi for the library as well.
Okay, that's free Wi-Fi for the customers using it. Is there not still, because there's free Wi-Fi down there at the farmer's market and the visitor station, that's free Wi-Fi. But we get a bill for that. Like there is a bill somewhere in there.
Maybe not anymore. Could that be negotiated?
You understand what I mean?
So that was an installation for a government grant that was done through Ray McCutcheon.
Right.
For us to, and again, this is a totally separate
Yes,
matter, but
yeah.
it's an actual system that was requested and paid for through a grant so that the farmers market could have Wi-Fi there for their debit machines and so forth, so forth. Now, that's another matter again. Is that something you want to discuss in part of the payment of the tenancy that we're talking about? I don't know. Do we discuss that now? I really don't know.
Yeah.
The main thing that I would like to put forward here too, that we are now putting in 3 different separate pieces. The expense of doing this is larger than what normally would be for my rural stuff, and the amount of profitability that I'm going to see back with competing with the larger incumbents in the area is going to, our return isn't going to be near what it would be in our other areas. So if this is more like an experiment for us to try to get more affordable and better internet for the people in Havelock.
So your focus is just on town residents?
This is mainly for the township, the town of Havelock, yes.
Okay. How many people do you have on service now? Do you have?
In Havelock?
Yeah. Do you
No, none.
You
We have like 3 or 4 people here that we can cover on the outlying areas. The water tower is gonna give us the ability to have approximately 90%, maybe 95% of the town.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so any other questions? Okay,
Yeah, I hate to bring this up, but I gotta bring it up. I didn't know that you were kind of offsetting this with, as I said, I didn't know about the rink and the rest of that. So I was just gonna bring up the 1,500 for the legal. I guess I'll have to get into the actual breakdown of what we're getting back, because I didn't know you were giving us all this back in terms of service. But in terms, like, for me, when I just saw the 15, to me, if anything, it should be a 50-50 on that legal, right? And no, but I'm just saying in terms of whatever, but I didn't presented a few things here today that I was unaware of, right? And if anything, I probably would have said that you should have paid the 1,500, not us, right? Because you're the one here looking for the agreement.
Right.
So, but I'm not there. I'm saying I've moved off that, but I'm still kind of maybe in the 50-50 in that. But let me look at the numbers in terms of what you're providing us for service. And maybe something like that, where if we did that, we could pick that up if the chamber fee got waived or something.
Definitely
Right?
draw up an annual report of what the cost breakdown would be for those 3 different sites.
Okay.
Okay,
No.
that's no problem.
Go no.
Somebody want to move anything?
One more question. Is there any health hazards to this? I know these cell towers do give off something.
So first of all, it's not a cell tower.
Okay.
It's a low powered frequency internet connection. So I can supply you with the proper exposure of these antennas, but they're so minimal that, you know, they're way less than the microwave or FM radio transmissions. But if you want me to drop what those are,
No,
we can
that's
do that
okay.
in the report.
No, that's okay. I'm a little bit confused on all these towers going up, the 5G,
Yeah,
and
there
then
is
you
a
got the
lot.
other ones. And I know it all depends on how many people are using it. That draws it and makes it higher, as long as it's still under the safety codes.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay, so Bob,
Okay.
No, go ahead.
Well, no, maybe you were going to talk about this. I was going to make a motion to go ahead and approve I kind of questions though around, as we said, what the deal is, right? So, I mean, can we approve with whatever and then see the final deal that the lawyer gives us?
Through you, Mayor Martin, if the motion is that we provide tentative approval based on further review of the legal agreement, we can certainly do that, if that's council's wish.
Yeah, well, just for myself, I said, I'm ready to move ahead with this. It's just, I'm not privy. I know it's here in the report, but there's more. You said a few other things. So just in terms of the balance, and maybe we can have future discussions and help each other in a way moving forward, right? But to at least give Ray the authority that, you know, we said okay, and he can move ahead with his stuff, and we can kind of work some of this stuff out, you know, in the next month or two, to both of our
How did you
benefits.
word that, Bob?
Or yeah, making it work today.
Through you, Mayor Martin, I think the motion is that we provide preliminary approval to this arrangement pending the legal agreement that will come back to a future council meeting for final approval.
And I will make that my motion, Mr. Mayor.
So moved by
Thank you.
Deputy Mayor Webb. Do I have a seconder for that? Councilor comment? Any other questions? Yeah, go ahead.
Through you, Mayor Martin. Ray, just for the comfort of everyone sitting at the council table, all these installations that you are suggesting here, they've all been engineered properly. Everything's safe. The engineering has all been done on this.
Yes, if there's extra engineering that needs to be done, maybe you might want to have more on the water tower through OCWA, then of course we can do that. We do have to talk with OCWA exactly what they want mounted and how they want it mounted up there. We've followed the engineering drawings supplied to us from HBM on the tower. So really, maybe a engineering approval on the structure being attached to the tower is your main focus on what comfort level would be there. And then, of course, it's gonna be for us too, because we don't want any falling off of it. It has to be functional.
Good answer.
And just a quick follow-up through you, Mayor Martin. Ray, one of the questions I've received, have you seen these installation on other water towers in other communities? Or is this a unique?
No, this is not unique. A lot of them have been done in different places. Rogers do them, Bell does them. The idea again is a lot of times communities will use their water towers as more of a source of revenue for it, and they'll allow several different companies to do this. You find that more in more populated areas, and it really overburdens the tower. And again, like I mentioned earlier, it makes the actual idea of the internet working properly with frequency overlaps to really work against itself. So it's not something new, it's something that's been done a lot in the past.
I'd like to thank the CEO for asking that question. I only wish that he asked it before I made the motion. Because we talked about it. Thank you.
Motion hasn't been approved yet, it hasn't been carried, so.
Thank
okay.
you.
Through you, Mayor Martin, under the items that we're going to consider, it says the agreement shall be canceled with minimum of 6 months notice. Can we give consideration as to what the cost of taking the equipment down would be borne by the installer? Because if we terminate, the equipment has to be taken down, right?
Yes, that's right. So I think something like that could be included in the agreement.
Okay.
I guess it all depends on why it's coming down.
Yeah.
Again, the size of the structure, it's not gonna, you know, and the cabling, it'll be a cost. For sure, it'll be as much of a cost putting it in as it is taking out. So again, it would all depend on why it's being canceled. And again, that's something that would be determined in the legal agreement.
If I can do a follow-up. And insurance, that's a pretty high structure. I assume
We are insurance covered by insurance. And in our business, we have to have lots of insurance.
Okay, and then I guess the last one would be, what happens if ownership changes? Can we change that into the agreement?
Yeah, that, of course.
You know, if rulings.
That's part of a basic tower agreement.
Yeah, okay, good, thank you.
Okay, all right then, so we have a mover and a seconder.
Sorry, I have a mover, Deputy Mayor Webb, I second Councilor Fleming. Thank you.
All right then. All question, all in favor? That's good. Okay, thank you, Ray.
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Ray, I'll be in touch.
Take care, guys.
You too.
All right then. We'll get through that stuff. All right, so we have the correspondence action item here. I'm not sure why that's under action item, it wasn't in a staff. But anyways, with
Sorry,
regard
what do we have here?
the concrete floor, correspondence.
Right.
So anyways, so the request is.
Yes. Through you, Mayor Martin, this is an item of correspondence. It is an action item in the sense that the long-term care home, obviously the build is continuing, as everyone can see. And occasionally they will require exemption from our noise bylaw with respect to some of the machinery that's doing its work there. And that's why this item was put on as an action item. If council is comfortable with the occasional working around the noise bylaw, that's what the request is.
Yeah, so I would suspect when it comes to the floor slab, it has to be a continuous pour.
Right.
And they could run into some time restraint here that they need to keep pouring. I think we did it with the arena when the floor was poured in there. A little different, it was inside, but there was noise. So I'm not sure how much noise there is around this, but I think there would be equipment running in and out of there to get this forward, so. It could go past the 9 PM.
Remember, do we need to let the neighbors know that this is going to occur? Or will Aon let them know that it's going to occur?
Through you, Mayor Martin, yes, we were working with our partners, Aon, and we will let them know. Aon has been working very well with us. They've been informing us of when things are happening, hence the email that you see there. So yes, we will let everyone know.
Would we not treat it similar to do with blast with the drain?
That's correct.
Yeah.
You know, the social media.
That's correct.
Okay. So the motion is there that we'll have
The occasional exemption from the noise bylaw.
Okay, moved by Councillor Doherty, second by Councillor Flagler. All in favor, and it's carried.
Not ready for me.
So the next item here is for information, corresponds for information, COVID-19 spring vaccine available for eligible residents.
I could have used that a few weeks ago.
Yeah, too late now, Bob. So motion to receive this. Moved by Deputy Mayor Webb, second by Councillor Clement. All in favor? It's carried. Okay, the next item here, there is no written notice of motion, and I don't see any. All right, I heard any. Is there any oral motion here? Okay, the next is other business and so committee liaison report here. So
County. Yeah, so go back to April, we had 2 meetings since our last meeting. April 17th, couple of items came up in our meeting concerning HPM. We had the approval of award of the tender for the rehabilitation of Crow Bridge, which is back on Van Sickle Road, the bridge back by Curl Lake. So I'll just read it. 50% of the total cost of Crow Bridge rehabilitation be funded from Public Works. Just so you know, we had to lend the township of Marlborough Lake the other half of that, so that's a part of the motion. Anyways, the tender was awarded to Lancoa Contracting in the amount of. The other one that came up was County Road 44 cross culverts at Belverine Creek. Is that Belverine? Yeah. So the tender was awarded for that as well to had a lot of bids on that one. So Scott Trudeau Construction for just $1 million and change, a little over $1 million. So yeah, so we got about $4 million of projects that are going on in HBM here. So
yeah, more than that actually when you get.
Well, just in those two right there, right?
That's
So
right.
and obviously you talked about everybody's been up to see the long-term care that's really going up quickly. So might be able to get in there by fall. No.
Or anything till 26.
So
yeah, and with that, I'll hold on here because I'll zoom. Sorry, I got to go back to the May 1st. But our one on May 1st wasn't very long. Right?
27 minutes.
It usually would go up. So just let me check here real quick. Because I think we might be discussing one of those issues in closed. So, yeah, subdivision, nothing really there. Better report from the new chief of paramedics that we all met here, and then once again they discussed the entrance permit bylaw. I think I discussed that a few. So that came up, and did we pass that? So it's down to 100, is it not? Is that what, or 75?
I haven't got it with me.
Yeah, no. Yeah, of course, I'm giving the report, didn't get wrong numbers. Anyways, I believe the old number was what, 150 between 150 meters between entrances. That was I believe it has been knocked down to 75. And as they said, to try and help people sever lots and whatnot and build houses. So we'll see how that goes. That's all from my report.
Yeah, so with all the roads that are being done from the county there, we're probably knocking on about I would think it must be closer to $7 million this year. So County Road 50, they're doing some resurfacing up there too. So,
Forgot that.
anyways, lots going on, and that's about it. So go ahead.
Can we expand a little bit more on 50? What are they doing there? And I have one question on 46, just past the Twin Lakes Resort.
Mhm.
They did a stretch of highway there, similar to what they did on 48.
Just a patch, you mean?
Well, I don't know. I don't know what it is, but it be nice to know why they did it, because everybody brings the question up, why would they just do that little bit?
Okay.
And I'd say, well, I don't have a clue, but I'll certainly give you Mr. Martin and Mr. Webb's phone number, because I don't know. I mean, it'd be nice if they just, if it's testing or just what are they doing? Because taxpayers saying like, what is?
So where are we talking on 46, right around Twin Lakes? You said?
It's just past, probably right past the launch there.
And I'm aware of where you're talking on 48. I think what's been done there is that, I know back here on 48, they've been trying to hit the worst areas until they get there to do the reconstruction, because I believe they're doing that this summer, aren't they, Jim? Part of that.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the dump to Mile of Memories or Mile of Memories to the second line, but anyways, part of that is being done. We approached them, I think it was last year. I approached Brian because the corner coming back to town around there, there's actually people driving in the one lane because the other lane was so bad. And I know, well, I mentioned it to Brian there, the county one, and a week later, they had guys come out, but as I said, they only fixed, like, kind of, I think this is to your point, maybe a 40 or 50 foot patch of the road. So you'll see a 40, 50 foot patch of new asphalt, but then the rest of the road is old, right? So
I guess it just brings forth questions, and if we know the answer, like they're just fixing the worst parts, but.
And I'll try and find out about both those for you.
Just because
if there's a culvert under it, that could be one of the things. A lot of these patches, if you look, there's a culvert. I don't know about that one. I don't know exactly where you're talking, but they'll patch wherever culverts are. A lot of the bottoms are going out of the culverts. So.
I guess I'm not concerned about what they do, is telling us why they did it, so that we be able to have an answer. Otherwise, it just looks a little peculiar to the average taxpayer on the road. That's all. It's just reduced questions.
So yeah, we'll check into it.
I'll look something. I apologize.
Oh,
but as I said, from my experience, which is the short experience up there, with things like that, it's usually, as I said, it's in the queue, so they're wait, but they might not be getting done up there for 2 or 3 years, so they try and patch it up and do, kind of a little patchwork until they have to bring the big boys in to do it
Eventually
correctly.
the patches will link up. Yeah.
Drive back to the cottage someday, you'll see. About 8 different shifts there, from patch to smooth to looks like an aerial assault came in.
Okay, so we are past our 4-hour curfew. We have one other item on here, and then.
Mr. Martin, I put in, when I paid my taxes, so I could talk, somebody screwed up in this thing.
Well, you'll have to put it in again, Jordy. We wouldn't have probably let it on this week anyways with how many delegations we had. So.
Anyway, my biggest concern is.
We don't have time today, Jordy. You're gonna have to put it back, speak to them on the way out today and ask them to, Bob's making note of it right now.
Yeah, Mr. Durrett, call me, we'll get it looked after.
We'll make sure you're on the next.
Okay, I'll be back again then.
Yeah.
I got enough problems on this one too.
Thank you.
All I want is to show the damn engineer, when you put the building there, it was
Okay.
the building code. I thought you worked for people, not council. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so other business. I'll if there's a couple minutes left on here, if I can get a motion to go past the curfew just to get this stuff out of the way. Moved by Deputy Mayor Webb, second by Councillor Clement. All in favor? And that's carried. Okay, so the next item on here is other business. And on other business there, the one thing I had in there was a facility tour. This year, there's not a lot of roads getting done. Normally we do a road tour. I suggested to Bob that we, maybe in June, we could set up a facility tour. It might help us when we go into budget if we start talking about any buildings. So it might be a half-day thing where we could go around to the buildings. We can see what's been happening at the arena with our grant money, and any of the upgrades that have been done. We can go through any other buildings, just put it on the list. Josh and Bob can set up an itinerary and, but if you have a specific building that you want to familiarize yourself with, it would be a perfect opportunity to take a look at them. So we can put everything on the time, like I say, it'll probably be in June if we can. And it's up to council though. What's your thoughts on that? Do you see any benefits of that? If not, we don't have to, so.
No, I don't personally for myself, I don't mind doing the facilities tour, but I would like to see us continue the road tour because, just so we don't lose track of what's going on. Because I think we're behind there. We've been behind for a year or two in terms of catching up, like with the COVID and stuff. And we need to stay on top of that kind of stuff. I get the facilities because we've never done that, right? So
Yeah.
I like that part of it and have them look at those, but I don't want that at the expense of the road tour because to me the roads is just as important, if not more important.
So you might be able to incorporate that into
And
it.
that's what I said to Bob. Maybe we do half it.
We only
Half
have
of
one.
it. Half of it is
How many roads
facilities.
are we doing this year? One? I think we're only.
Yeah, but I mean, I think there's some that we're on from last
Yeah.
year too, right? That so
Okay, so maybe we can incorporate the two together and
see
what it looks
We
like.
got asset management coming up,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
the facilities report might
Yeah.
help us understand that.
Okay.
Or at least me understand it. I know everybody else gets it. I'm just a little slow.
and like you
Okay.
said, Bob or whoever, they can identify which roads and
Yeah.
which buildings we need to go to, right? So
Okay,
a good place for lunch too. That place where I can.
so, okay, so if I could get a motion that we move ahead with the road tour / facility, maybe we can incorporate the two
Yes.
together. Moved by Councilor Clement, seconded by Deputy Mayor Webb, all in favor, and that's carried. And the bylaw here with regards to, there's something else here, sorry, go ahead.
Yes, through you, Mayor Martin. There is another item under other business. Just a reminder for council, there is a special council meeting on May 22nd regarding a strategic plan. So we'll be having a session, could be an all-day session with our consultant Praxis. And that is just summarizing our strategic plan initiative.
Good. Okay.
Was start time 9:30?
9:30. Yeah.
Okay, and the next item is the bylaw, to authorize the agreement with Bell. Moved by Councilor Clement, seconded by Deputy Mayor Webb, all in favor, and that's carried. And, okay, so, it's up to council here now. We are in past the curfew. I don't expect this to be long in closed session, so do you want to just get this done, or do you want to take a break for 15 minutes? We can take a break.
Even 5 or 10. Like,
Whatever.
Yeah. 10 minutes?
Depends how big the lineup is.
Yeah. That's the biggest thing. So motion to go into closed session.
Motion to recess.
Recess, okay. Moved by Councilor Doherty, seconded by
Ring the
Councilor
bell.
Flagler. 10-minute recess. Motion. There we go. Motion to resume and open. Moved by Councilor Clement, seconded by Deputy Mayor Webb. All in favor, and that's carried. So now it's a motion to go into close under section 239(2)B of the Municipal Act for personal matters about an identifiable individual. So motion to go into close, moved by Deputy Mayor Webb, second by Councilor Flagler. All in favor, and that's carried. Okay, so we are back in open. Motion to
resume.
Resume. Councilor Clement, Deputy Mayor Webb, all in favor? Carried. And motion to come out. Just a minute. Just receive the minutes.
Nope, we can just move into confirming.
Okay. Confirming bylaw, motion for the confirming bylaw. Well, you're in a bad day, Beth. So Kathy and her.
No, I burnt my throat with that.
Okay.
We're not to reverse that, isn't it?
Okay. No, it was that way.
Well, that's,
okay,
all right.
And then, okay, motion to adjourn, Deputy Mayor Webb, Councillor Cluster, all in favor,
All right.
and that's carried.